So this podcast is going to be called like Our History is a Complete Bunch of Bullshit, right? And like growing up in high school and elementary school, like you're taught about World War One and World War Two, because the greatest quote ever was actually from Hitler. Was whoever wins the war, right? The victors of the war write the history.
Correct.
Right, everywhere, doesn't matter who it is. So they're now during high school, you're taught about World War One, World War Two, and you're like, okay, that's it. That's what you think. And then you watch the History Channel. Hitler's bad, Germany's bad, all this stuff's bad. Then you question yourself during the years, is like, do people actually wake up one day and they're like, hey, I want to go massacre a bunch of people? Like, do they actually think that, or maybe is there something to what's going on? And I sent you the link. So what we're talking about is this documentary called "The Greatest Story Never Told." And I've been now 3 hours into a 6-hour documentary, and I haven't been red pilled in a couple of years, and I'm fucking blown away, like on the lies of that war. So I'm going to spend 5-10 minutes just giving a background so people can catch up on this and do your own research. Don't believe me, just do your own research, because I fact checked everything they say in this documentary. So it starts off with World War One, like what happened in World War One. Like a lot of people, like it is documented that the English started World War One by assassinating the Austrian prince. And at that time in the world, Germany, Austria, Poland, Croatia, Prussia were all kind of like almost one big country at that time in the world. And they all declared war against the UK, because that's what, like, someone assassinated United States presidents, United States and the Allies would have to go to war against the country. That's just how it is. So they all go against war, the UK, and they kick the shit out of the Britons. Like they destroy them, like absolutely destroy them, to the point that Germany calls for peace talks. They're like, "Hey, we put you in your place. You've been pushed out. France has been pushed out. You're all done. You're submitted. You white flagged it." And then they're actually negotiating peace talks. And then there's this, I'm going to paint a picture for everyone so everyone understand. There's nations, there's leaders. Then above those people are the bankers. And above those people are the Zionists, the rulers, the world elites that rule the fucking world, that dictate everything, because they control the money and the media. You control the money, you control the nations, you control the media, you control what people think, right? So they convinced England at the time, don't sign a peace treaty with Germany. We're going to convince the Americans to get involved. And for some reason, I don't know how they did it. I'm not that deep into the documentary. They convinced the Americans to enter World War One, and with the supply ships and America, being so far away and supplying troops and technology to help fight against the Germans, it pushed Germany back, and then they pretty much like destroyed Germany, right? Germany and all its allies. And what happened, a lot of people don't know, is that when Germany lost World War One because of the United States interference, that Germany was taxed like $660 million per month to each nation. And if they didn't pay, if they skipped a payment, France and England would come in and start raping and pillaging their women. And so they were forced to keep paying these tribute money to them, and all their cattle, all their food. So there was over millions and millions and millions of Germans dying. And then the media convinced the world that the Germans started World War One. And they're like, I'm like, no, they didn't. They just protected their allies against their prince getting assassinated. And then so anyways, fast forward a little bit. They were in poverty. To buy a loaf of bread, they had to take a wheelbarrow full of money. Like millions of people were starving and dying in Germany over this suppression from the Allies. And then that's what I'm going to call him H-Man, because I don't want to say it on YouTube, because this has all been deleted if you say his name. But H-Man came into power, and he wanted to be a nationalist. And what really woke me up was Dan Brazilian said this on a podcast months ago, and he was pro-Palestine. And he was against Israel. And I was like, why would you be against Israel? Like, we're supposed to be Israel's allies. So I like to question everything. And I, like to question the narrative. And so I started doing some research. And the research is, this is a lot of people don't know this. So there was a Great Depression before World War II. And it was caused by the bankers. And who owns the banks? The Jews. They literally did. They owned all the media, all the Jews. They owned all the money, all that stuff. And they caused the Great Depression worldwide. Right. And then the inflation was so high in Germany that they couldn't get out of debt. And the biggest thing that H-Man, like his biggest thing when he ran for politics, was he wanted to get rid of communism. He wanted to get rid of interest rates. He wanted to get rid of the Rothschilds. He made a museum out of the Rothschilds' homes there. He wanted to get Germany back to a former superpower. And a lot of people don't know this dark secret. when World War One was lost, they divided Germany up and Poland up. Like half of Poland is actually Germans, and then half of Austria was Germans, right? And they took it and made it. They redrew their map and separated everyone from each other. And they would rape and kill all those Germans that were left in Poland and left in Austria and all that stuff. So when he came to power, he never invaded Poland. He was liberating his people from the concentration camps that the Poles started. And then when he came into Poland to liberate his people, because there was like 50,000 deaths, civilians being raped and shot and killed, but from the Poles at the time. This was never reported in the media. This is like the greatest story never told, right? And it's so dark, our past, like how much we're lied to through the media just spins everything and lies to everyone about this stuff. And then when he came into Poland to liberate his people from World War I prisoners, he used the concentration camp or the POW camps, and he put the Poles that shot and killed, anyone that shot and killed the Germans were put in those camps, and he treated them really good. And I'm going to blow people's mind away because I heard this theory a long time ago about the gassing of Jews. So there was a thing, I screenshot here. There was a new pandemic in World War II called typhus that was going around, typhus lice that was going around in Europe at the time. Like it was everywhere. Like all the countries were suffering from this. Was a very deadly disease. And when the Germans had POWs and they were just covered in lice, they would have to strip them naked and they would put them in these showers to de-lice them because it would kill even the German soldiers. Like it was such a bad pandemic and they had to kill it. And at that time, they didn't have anything to stop it. So what they did is they would put people in gas chambers to kill the lice, not the people. This was a theory that I heard years ago, but of course we've been led to believe that it's not true because the media told us at the time this is true. This is just from reports, and they interviewed people that lived in those times on this documentary I sent to you, and like they paint a whole picture. Like when German invaded Poland, Austria, Russia, people were so liberated and so happy that they volunteered to join his army. And they're like, oh, he was racist. Well, why did he have Japan allies with him? Why did he have Arab countries ally with him during the war, right? And a lot of people don't know this. His top 10 generals were Jewish.
Yeah.
You can look it up. You can Google it.
Well, I think that goes back to your whole... I delineate between a Hebrew, a Jew, and a Zionist.
Mm-hmm.
Zionists control the money. Like their whole agenda supersedes any racial or background.
Yeah,
right?
To ideology.
And I mean, so I don't ever want to come off as someone who's like a denier of the Holocaust because I do think that it happened. I do think the reason why certain things were put in play and it happened are vastly different than anything we've been told. I think a lot of it comes down to money and control.
Oh, 100%.
And that goes above and beyond. And you'll see groups work together in a weird coalescent way that they never would because the green is controlling it like a marionette puppet.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And like, I'm not a denier at all, but I am a fact checker. And like the facts come out. Like, for example, a lot of people don't know this. So Stalin was in charge of Soviet Union back then. Yeah. He killed 20 million of his own people before World War II even started, but just starvation. He made a law called the Code 227 where that if you did not fight to the death and you thought you're a prisoner of war and you wanted to come back to Soviet Union, you'd be shot and killed, and your family would be raped and shot and killed back in Soviet Union at the time. And before World War II even started, Germany and Soviet Union had a no attack agreement. They just didn't want to attack each other because they're just like, we'll sign this because I'm focused on getting rid of the Zionists in the West. Yeah. I'm freeing my country from these evil bankers. And here's the thing a lot of people don't know. I just remembered this. Palestine and Israel was started by Germany. You can look it up. So look at the facts. So when Buddy came into power, he gave them an option. He's like, you can leave our country. We'll transport you to Palestine with all your net worth, all your money. Just get out of my country. I'm putting Germany first because we're so bad right now. We can't even feed our own people. Like, you need to get out. Now, there's a reason why they never look at this. This will blow your mind. They never translate his speeches for a reason. I watch a translated speech. He talks about what's happening today. He's like, we can't let these immigrants anymore. We can't feed our own country.
There's a great AI out there right now that does it in his voice.
Yeah, it's crazy. I listened to his speeches.
And he ain't as crazy as he looks. No. When you don't understand it, he looks so angry in German.
There's a reason why he was so passionate about his country, because he says what's happening today. He's like, a lot of people don't know this. In the 1920s, after World War I, Germany was the capital of gay and pornography clubs and all that stuff, and it destroyed their country. Like, the only way people could eat was by having sex to feed themselves. That's all it was. So he wanted to get rid of all that, and he in 6 years of power, first 6 years of power, he made his country the biggest superpower. Like, he transformed it from the brokest country, the most poorest country, people dying from starvation, to the most richest country. Nationalist, put his country first, got rid of bankers, interest rates, loans, got rid of everything, free housing. He just got everything up. The biggest superpower, art, everything. Like, he was an artist. Like, it's crazy what we're told in high school, and then you read it from a different perspective, from a different history book of like real people that lived there, and they're like, why do you think people loved him so much in that time, a period of time? Why did so many countries ally with him against the West? Every time they said, the newspaper, he invaded Poland. No, he liberated his people from Poland that were stuck there because they're getting raped and killed. Like, that was the truth. But there's newspaper articles proving it, that you can look it up. It's all there on Google. You just got to digest it yourself. Like, we're just so lied to in the West. This is not even just about World War I and II. This is also 9/11. We're lied to about that. Totally lied. Even like the soldiers that fought over there, they're like, this is like, we should never have been here. We're clearly lied to. This is a false flag attack.
Well,
right?
it's all such a multi-layered onion.
Yeah.
Right? Because you take a look at, it all comes back to money. It comes back to money and control. And you could look at Rome, and when that started to fall, then what came? Then England came, and then you had the pound sterling, and then that started to fall. What came? The U.S. became dominant.
Yeah.
You go back to the Knights Templar, and it's such a thing. Like, it's even difficult to sit down and start talking about it, because there's so many connecting bodies.
Yeah.
Throughout the course of history. And it goes back to the Catholic Church. And I mean, how deep do you want to get, right?
No, it's just like, I watched this documentary once. You're in your hour 4. They even talk about, like, how come no one criticizes what the Americans did to the natives? How come no one talks about what the British Empire did to the world for hundreds of years? So, like, are you kidding me? Look what Stalin did to its own people. When Germany almost literally won that war, like almost won the war. If it wasn't for America being tricked into the war again, like, America didn't want to even get into the war at all. They were fighting Japan. They wanted nothing to do with Germany. They were like completely against Germany, because they didn't see anything wrong with what Germany's doing. Like, Germany was literally trying to get out of starvation and attack, get out of the control of the UK. That's all it was, right? And then you have to look at what the British Empire did to India. Look what they did to Australia. Like, the millions and millions.
Look at the diamond on the Queen's crown.
And then
it was taken from India, man.
Yeah, and then they literally demonize one person because it's like they have to make an enemy. Right? Like, Stalin is probably one of the worst guys you will ever, like, in world history.
Mussolini's up there.
And the reason why I'm wearing an American hat is because America has always been tricked into every war. America, it does fight for freedom and does have morals, but literally because when you control the media, like when 9/11 happened, everyone's like, oh my God, because the media is like shoving it down your throat. All the Navy SEALs I listen to on podcasts, all of them, they're always like, we should never have been there. We're lied to. Fuck our government. And finally, you have some guy named Trump. He's like, no wars. We're not going to get involved anymore because we've been tricked for almost 100 years into these fucking false flag wars.
Backing up, look at Gaddafi. Anybody who stands up, they're like, you know what? Nope, we're going to go on our old gold standard. We'll do our own thing. You notice what happens every time? China's the only place in the world right now that could do that, just based upon military might, technology, how much money they're owed, and their ability to mobilize a force in sheer numbers.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people are going to watch this podcast and be like, oh, this guy is like crazy. But like, trust me, guys, I used to watch the History Channel with my grandma. I'm pro-America. I'm pro-Canada. But I'm pro the American military. I'm pro Canadian military, but I'm also pro truth. And we're lied to about everything. And because like the biggest thing that anyone could have against Germany is like, well, they're about the Aryan race. Well, of course, the media is going to say that. But like, why would Japan ally itself with an Aryan race? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Well, why would Hitler even do that? That doesn't make any. If you're a racist, you are a racist.
Interesting enough, the word Aryan comes from the word Iran.
Yeah.
Right, and he was obsessed on the Middle East and ancient Babylon.
Yeah.
Then you start getting into the ancient mysticism that he was into. Take a look at the swastika, which is on like old Hindu inscriptions and stuff, right? It's
yeah, a lot of people don't know how demonic the UK is. Like, for example, a lot of people don't even know this truth, that after World War II, after Germany surrendered, there was one country left still fighting against the Allies. It was Croatia, because they were allies with Germany. Over 500,000 soldiers stood their ground, and the Allies could not beat Croatia. So what happened is they just had a peace deal. They're like, you know what? We can't beat you. You can stay in your own country, but we need to disarm you. So they're like, you know, that's a good deal. So they disarmed. And guess what happened? The French and the UK or the English came in there and shot and killed every single one of them, raped all the women. Every single one of them. It's all well documented.
Hey, we'll give you some money for them.
Yeah, this is what's happening in now Canada. Now Trudeau's like taking away 324 more guns and giving them to Ukraine. I'm like, I will never give my guns. How am I supposed to protect like the First Amendment or Second Amendment in the United States is like, you're supposed to hold guns not to fight against invading countries. You're supposed to protect yourself against tyrannical governments, because it does happen. Our history is so demonic, so disgusting. Like, even look at Stalin. Like, he killed all of the Polish, 20,000 Polish officers that were fighting for Germany, because they were liberated, not conquered. And every time Germany invaded or liberated a country, all the civilians would go back to Germany and lived there, because they used to be part of Germany. Like, the history, like, people don't even know their history. They're like, oh, this guy's bad. But like, I don't think people are actually like, everyone is like standing up for their own country, and then they're forced into these little battles, you know, and then it becomes a world war. This is what's happening right now. But what's the actual truth? Who's starting this shit? You know what I mean? Like, who benefits from these countries and redrawing maps? And it all, like you said, it all comes down to money. You know, like,
well, you look at the Rothschilds during like the Napoleon Wars.
Yeah.
And they're like funding both sides.
Yeah.
They're literally selling weapons over to these guys and over to these guys.
Yeah, they make money on both sides.
Creating probably more controversy. You know, oh, he said this, oh, he said that, right?
Yeah, and then at that time, there's no cell phones, there's no internet. So when the newspaper says something, you believe it. And when it's so far gone, oh, you killed my buddy, I killed your buddy, and times that 1 billion, you know, then it's a war that can never stop until they're all slaughtered and destroyed. Even if the truth came out, like, this truth will never be accepted. Like, this documentary was deleted on all social media except for one website. It was taken down from the TV. It was taken down from YouTube. The greatest story never told. It's the most eye-opening thing about our past. It's not even just about the guy from Germany. It's about our entire world wars and how the Zionists or the world elites. Why do you think Switzerland never gets attacked in every war? Because that's what they live. They control all the money, right? And like, not one bomb, not one gunshot has ever entered Switzerland in any war, because that's where they live. And guess where they live? And who's part of that Switzerland group today is the WEF, WHO, Bilderberg groups, you know, Rothschilds, Rockefellers.
Who conveniently never appear on any Forbes list.
And you can't Google the richest people. Yeah, like the richest people in the world, you can't even look them up, because like, they control the internet, they control the banks, they control your politicians, they control what you think. And it's unfortunate, because people are generally good. And when you control the narrative, like 9/11 happened, World War I happened, World War II. World War I, we were the bad guys. Like, legit, we started the war. Like, of course, what do you think is going to happen when you go assassinate someone's prince or king or whatever it is, or president? Of course it's going to start a war. Like, you got to be dumb to not think so. And then they fight back, and they almost win. Like, they literally are peace talks. Just like when we're talking about the Ukraine war, Russian war, there was literally peace talks 2 years ago. And then the UK president stopped it. He's like, no, we want an endless continuous war, because when a continuous war happens, they make so much money off of it, right?
And what most people don't understand, because we're fed now primarily through 15-second snips, you know, stuff on social media, and then the news, which is never going to be more than 5 minutes. And so when everybody started freaking out, I go, well, because I started doing some studying, and then I found out about the Minsk Treaty.
Yeah.
Which I guess when the Iron Curtain fell, one of the deals was okay, fine, we'll allow everybody to do their own thing, but you can never bring NATO to the borders of Russia. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that was a bit of a game changer for me in my mind, because I don't care if it was 40 years later or whatever, you're kind of like reneging on a set agreement. And this whole thing happening with Putin, and when I was like 10 years in the making, right? Yeah. So people act like all of a sudden he just rolled through there and started massacring people. I think
what
he's
happened
right?
in World War
No.
II? Yeah.
Do I think it's heavy-handed? Totally. But did it come out of left field? No. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand because we don't get the full story.
This is why Tucker Carlson interviewed Putin. And when that interview, everyone should go watch it on X, is Putin gives him a history lesson for 1 hour about the Ukraine war. And he's like, I'm not the aggressor. I'm defending my country. You guys started this war in 2014 when you announced you wanted to put Ukraine into NATO. You like the Warsaw Agreement or the Minsk Agreement was literally after World War II that the NATO could never expand 1 inch east to Russia. Russia wanted nothing to do with NATO.
And when people argue that, I always say, well, if that's the case, then why was there when they brought missiles to Cuba, the Cuban Missile Crisis, why was that such a big deal? And if it doesn't matter, right? Who's going to allow someone to come with bombs? Yeah, everybody's going to set them up on your border. Yeah, Russia don't fuck around.
China puts bombs in or missiles in Mexico. What do you think? The one thing the United States is going to do? Yeah, and it's even proven today that Ukraine had bioweapon labs right on the border of Russia. Like, what do you think? What do you think the United States would do to Mexico if that happened? Like, use your fucking head, right?
And this isn't taken away from any of the horrific things that happen during war. People just need to understand why certain things happen. We're all pawns. That's it, man.
Oh yeah, we're all pawns on a chessboard. And I'm going to blow people's mind with this thing right here. Germany was so against communism. Yeah. They hated communism. So does, guess who else hates communism? The West.
Yeah.
Fucking United States can't stand it. The United States allies itself with communism in World War II to beat Germany. Like, fucking mind-blowing, the logic, the intelligence of some people. They're like, oh, Germany's bad, Russia's bad. But maybe we should ask why they're bad. Like, what are they doing? Like, we're no fucking saints. Look what we did to Iraq. We killed 1 million people over what? Oil? We killed millions of people in Afghanistan over heroin. Yeah. Like, that's a proven fact. They literally guarded heroin fields in Afghanistan for 20 years so they can control the drug supply. Like, that's how demonic the West is.
Unfortunately, though, you go back to the Contra and all the rest of it, right?
Yeah, it's truth. It's truth. Like, our truth is so, the truth of our real past is so demonic that, like, what you were told in school is just sugarcoating everything because, like, they have to give you, like, if they don't believe you're heroic, they can't get people to fight. You know what I mean? Like, they have to, like, make, because people are generally good people and people are generally good neighbors. I can go traveling. Everyone's nice to you. It's our governments or the rules of the world that make us fight amongst each other. There's actually like no really racism. It's just because we're told to be racist because of different cultures interacting, right? When I see in my country or our country, Free Palestine, Deaf to Canadians, burn Canadian flags, I'm just like, now that I watched this documentary, I'm like, maybe there's some fucking truth to what they're trying to say to you. Like, people just don't wake up in the morning and want to go kill a bunch of people.
I've tried to stop and think to myself, why are they hurting so bad?
Yeah.
Step outside of myself for a moment. Like, and again, maybe they've been fed a bunch of bullshit and it's festering. But instead of trying to meet aggression with aggression, which typically has been the way I've dealt with stuff most of my life, just taking a step back and been like, why?
See both sides of the coin for a bit, yeah.
What is compelling thousands of people? And if it is some kind of programming through social media and disinformation and misinformation,
it could be everything. Fine. It could be a little bit of everything, yeah.
But I have to feel that these people are, in most cases, hurting.
Yeah.
So why?
Well, it's just like the thing during Iraq was you drone a family and you kill the whole family, but one guy survives. Now you just created someone that hates your country the rest of your life, and you do that times 1,000 or 1,000,000 fucking deaths, right? And then just like, I need to go back to World War II because I forgot to put this key point in. Now, there was an agreement between Russia and Germany of a no attack agreement. But what happened was when that agreement was in place, Soviet Union kept attacking other countries, like killing thousands and millions of people. And Germany won the war against France and held the line, and they were sending peace talks to England for 5 fucking years. There's proof of over 20 different peace documents. Okay, you know what? We're going to hold the line here. We're not going to keep attacking, but we want peace with you because we have a bigger enemy coming in. Communism is sweeping through Eastern Asia, and we need to take on Russia right now, or we're all going to be in communism. And they were agreeing to that. But then the Zionists were like, no, again, like they did in World War I, World War II, we're going to convince the Americans to get in. And Americans, a lot of people don't know this, they started World War II with Japan. Because if you look at before the Pearl Harbor attack, why did Japan attack Pearl Harbor? It's because China and Japan were at war with each other for like 20 fucking years because China
probably for 1,000 years really.
Yeah, they were always at war, and then United States put sanctions on Japan and starved them of their oil reserves. And without oil, they couldn't feed their family or truck in food, and their population started to starve. So Japan kept sending talks to United States, and they kept denying them. No, not until you leave China. Until you stop attacking China or stop. They weren't attacking. They were like defending themselves against China because China were at war for like however long they were. And they're also very armed people and they never retreat. That's just their culture. So Japan was on the brink of starvation and they were forced to attack Pearl Harbor to wake up to like, we're serious. Like, give us back our oil reserves or we have to go to war against you.
Which in hindsight probably wasn't the best decision here. But.
No, because it woke up a sleeping giant, right? That was the key moment. Like, I studied the whole war. That was the key moment where you woke up the Americans. And, of course you're going to attack Americans, but also Americans did instigate it. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to starve a country, you're like, if Canada's being starved, what do you think the people are going to fucking do? They're going to go fight and get their food reserves. They need to eat. Or join. Whatever it is, right? So that's what sparked it, and that's what woke America up. And then America was like totally against the European war. Like, we're not getting involved. Like, we understand what Germany's doing at the time, and then they spun all the truths on Germany about like the Holocaust and gassing Jews and all that stuff. And then like, if you look at the real raw data, and I know this is so hard for people to believe, like it's even hard for me to believe, but I'm all about truth and I'm all about fact checking, and I love learning because I want to know the real truth. It's very attractive. But maybe like it wasn't what they said they're doing. Maybe there are POWs on both sides. Like, there's a Geneva Convention that's totally normal. The only Geneva Convention that was not respected during World War II was when Germans invaded Russia. Because Soviet Union was so bad. Stalin was so bad. Every time they invaded a Soviet Union country, the people were cheering for the Germans because they wanted to get rid of Stalin. Stalin was so demonic. And they would join the German army at the time, and all the women would party with the German soldiers because they were liberators, not invaders. And then that's how Germany was so successful, almost got to Moscow, but the only reason why they lost war was because the Russian winter kind of like collapsed their army at the time. And then a lot of people don't know that. And then when they left Russia, all the people came with them that they liberated, just came back to Germany, because they didn't want to be part of Stalin. Stalin was so demonic.
I feel like they knew when they were leaving, they're like, we're coming back to fuck them up.
Yeah, because they knew.
They're like, don't worry.
The Soviet Union civilians knew that once Soviet Union started taking back their countries, they'd all be shot and killed or raped, right? So they just left. And then they had POWs. Everyone has POWs on both sides, like I said. But then the syphilis lice was going on, right? Or whatever the name was, the lice problem was going on. So they put them in the camps and then gassed the lice. This was a thing that was proven years ago, but because the narrative is so already entrenched that, like this already happened, you can't question it.
So a hybrid theory. They started out gas chambering lice, and then they're like, oh, fuck, we have other uses for this.
Honestly,
right?
Honestly, we weren't there.
Once there's a level of fervor and everybody's like, fuck it, let's get rid of them, right? Yeah, it's convenient.
Yeah,
hey, we got
but
these.
The people they were gassing also was the people that were shooting and killing the Germans. You know what I mean? And when people say, for example, here I know this is true. So when the Jews like, oh, they're killing only Jews. Well, that's not true. How come they had 10 Jewish generals in the German army? It's proven fact. You can look up their names.
They were useful?
No, they weren't attacking Jews. They were attacking people that were killing Germans. And they were taking out Jewish bankers that were controlling the Jewish, like the money at the time. At that time period, that's just who ruled the world, money financial wise. And they wanted to get rid of interest rates because no country could get out of the Great Depression without getting rid of these bankers, because the bankers' interest rates were so fucking high.
Which is interesting. You look at I just learned this. So Sharia lending within.
Oh
Islam,
yeah.
They're about so they had banks and we lend, but they don't collect any interest. It's like
they're doing that in Canada
thing.
Now. Yeah,
that's actually I visited a mosque. I have a friend that lived above one.
Yeah.
So we're downstairs and they invited me in, and I was like, oh, all right, whatever.
This is the problem with Canada with mortgages right now, is that they're asking, Trudeau's doing this for them. And now Canadians like you and me are like, why am I paying interest on my mortgage now, right? If we look at anything, like let's take race, religion, ideology out of anything, paying interest to live in a home from a bank that prints money from nothing, thin air, is corrupt and demonic. It doesn't matter who you are. And when you raise the interest rates, back then interest rates were like 50, 60%. A loaf of bread was 150 million marks for bread, and people were starving. What do you think people are going to do? And you have a voice of hope in your country, you know what I mean? And then they were like, we were never the bad guys in World War I. We were the good guys. Like, we just lost. Now the victor writes the history, and like
say whatever they want.
Say whatever.
Say otherwise.
Exactly. They have the guns, they have the bullets, and they would keep invading Germany on a monthly basis and raping, killing their fucking women because they couldn't afford these $660 million month payments to the victors, like tribute payments. It's like a gang. Like, you got to pay us, we're going to kill you. You know what I mean?
I've always felt like we don't have as much a racism problem as a classism problem.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, most of the people of color are at the lower end of that class scale.
Yeah.
You take a look at some poor white dude from Alabama growing up in a trailer park. His life has probably been shit, most of it.
Yeah.
I bet you when he talks to, someone else, they because a lot of their problems are socioeconomic problems.
Yeah.
Right? Then you start getting to tears.
Well, we could go down another podcast on that. Like, for example, like during World War II, how I know we're being lied to is that United States was the one country that had separate, like they had a black, say, infantry, and they had a white infantry. They never had it mixed.
We've been fucked if it wasn't for those boys. I'll tell you that now.
No, I know, but they never had it mixed. But guess who had it mixed? Germans. Germans had Indians in their ranks. They had Arabs in their ranks. They had Japanese in their fucking ranks, fighting amongst each other, sharing the same barracks. So it's like, who really is the more racist country? And then we want to go back to even like United States. They literally created certain prison programs that pit one type of population in prison. Why do you think blacks are the most predominant people always arrested? Because there's racism. I think it was I saw a stat. Truman was part of the KKK. Roosevelt was totally racist. You know what I mean? Like,
even if you weren't part of it, you had to align yourself with it because all the judges,
exactly,
all the lawmakers were in it.
The one thing Trump always said, the smartest thing, he's like, once I got the reason why I couldn't do shit term one is because it's about survival. Like, you have to rub your shoulders with like the most demonic people to get anything done. You have to make, this guy may rape 1,000 kids, but he can get something pushed through. This guy may fucking invade a country, but he can make this happen. You know what I mean? It's just like, everyone's so demonic and corrupt. It's so disgusting. And you know what I mean? Like what are you like? You can only do so much. And it was like, oh, why can't you do this? Why can't you do this? I'm like, he is probably our best hope for some slight change. You know what I mean? Yeah. And some slight honesty. He literally said, I don't want any new wars. I don't want America in any wars. I don't want to even go into Israel, Palestine. I want the fucking truth moving forward. And so do the people. Because we're told that our TV is designed to program you. This person's bad. This person's bad. This guy did this. Gas. You're not going to be like, hey, I need to go over there and see some proof first. You're going to be like, oh yeah, my buddy's telling me I should go. My mom's telling me I should go. Everyone's going. I got to go. And then you're believed to go. Just like 9/11 was like, it's true. It's all good to go.
Dude, I tried to sign up.
Yeah.
In Bellingham, I called down. They weren't accepting Canadians at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I was gung ho.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. It's patriotism.
That Rich Beeman guy? Yeah. Let's fucking roll, man.
Yeah, and I love the Americans. I love the American military, and I hate it because like the American people are so honorable, like the military people, but they're lied to from their leaders and the media.
Well, they're waking up. They're waking up. I think this time around showed from all sides.
Yeah,
there's something more happening, and I think a lot of people, even if they didn't want to outwardly express it because of various reasons, they didn't want to be doxxed, they didn't want to be whatever. They're starting to distrust the whole system.
People are gonna fucking hate. You know what I mean? Like I never like I'm a red pill guy. I go down the rabbit hole for the last 12 years, and when I saw someone sent me this link to this, he's like, you need to watch this. Just like, I love alternative thinking because I love to see both sides of the story, and I'll decide for myself, and I'll fact check everything. If it takes me years, I will, because I love it. And then I was like, I watched this documentary. I sent you a link. I sent a link to a few other buddies, and they're like, holy fuck, if this is true, there's no way of, we can never change it, because once the history books are wrote, unless you change the establishment, which you're going to get killed and shot if you try to do, right? That's just how the world works. Doesn't matter who it is, whoever rules the world at the time, you got to go with that. Like,
at 44, something that I'm starting to learn is throughout my life, I've always had that gut feeling, spiritual, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Whether I did something stupid or not, whether I was in a situation, I would always have a feeling about it before. Mm-hmm. But I very rarely growing up did I listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've gotten older now, I look, if something doesn't feel right and it feels weird.
Yeah, it feels weird. Yeah.
I'm kind of like,
or too good to be true.
Hold on. Like, I mean, and again, I don't want to get too far into this, but I'll just use the mask mandate, now everybody needs to be vax mandate thing. Because I was actually going to go out and get it. I was booked in. I was getting the Johnson & Johnson, the whole bit.
Yeah.
And then Trudeau was like, oh, no. And they stopped everything. And I just stopped because I was like, he said 70%, 75% vaccination, we wouldn't have to do anything. And we were at like 90% nationally at that point.
Canada was the highest.
And I was like, whoa, okay, hold on. And then it turned out the Johnson & Johnson one was kind of the shit. And then I was still on the fence. And then I was like, you know what? Fuck you.
Yeah.
And so, and again, I don't want to go too far down that. That's another podcast.
We can't say the term, but everyone knows what you're talking about. Like it's just let's just use that as an analogy, like, or just pure logic. Like,
if it don't feel right.
If it don't feel right, man. Since birth, I've questioned everything, and I've done well because of it. I don't believe anything anyone says. For example, like one thing that woke me up and was social class and maybe like grade 9, the pyramids were built in 25 years. And then I did the math. I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Then I questioned it. And the teacher's like, you're not supposed to ask questions. Just do your homework. I was like, I am doing my homework. It doesn't make any sense. The math doesn't add up. It just like, would take way longer to build that than because of stone weight and people population at that time, blah, 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 that you told me. And he's like, well, just then when you try to challenge the teachers at the time, even the teachers don't even know what they're teaching. They're just like, give me a book. And like, if you rule the world, like, hey, people like, I need you to open up your mind. If you rule the world, say I rule the world, I'm going to write this book of my history of what I want you to learn. I'm going to give you this technology of what I want you to think the only technology is that we have. I'm going to control you through debt. I'm going to make you work 3 fucking jobs. I'm going to inject you with this, and this so I can control the population, make you sick, drug addicted, and all that stuff. Even like
open air prison.
Even Germany was against drugs and alcohol. They banned all that shit because it was destroying their nation.
Which is interesting because Hitler ended up like a meth addicted.
Well, that's what they say though. But one thing is true that you did say is speed was made in World War II for the soldiers. Blitzkrieg. Right, that's where it comes from. That's why the soldiers could run and with such speed and destroy France within 3 days.
Mething them up and giving them steroids.
Yeah, that's where it comes from. Yeah, that's what it was. That's what they had. And then also, like, we're not going to just shit on the Germans. Like, the United States did it too. Like, there's so many accounts of like
there was amphetamines in the coffee that pilots were drinking in like the 80s.
Well, if you got to stay up for 3 fucking days without getting a bullet in your head, I'm going to take whatever I want to stay up. I'll do coke if I have to. You know what I mean? Like I will. Like that's where it invented come from. Like even like a lot of people don't know Molly or MDMA was created for war veterans for PTSD problems and to save marriages back in the 1940s.
Or they say necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah, this is where it all comes from, right? Like, and then when you have abuse, then it's abuse, right? But like, it's just like our history is it just pisses me off because like if you think if we're to slide about the last 2 world wars, imagine the last 1,000, 2,003, 4,000 years and where all our religions come from. Like, do you know, like when people like harp Christianity and Christian Catholic or whatever the religion is, I'm like, how do you know that's true? Were you there? No, but the book says that. I'm like, also the book told me the pyramids were built in 25 years. The book also told me dinosaurs aren't real.
But it also states within that in Old Testament that one day to God is 1,000 years. So again, it comes down to interpretation. Like
interpretation, yeah.
When I know people that are hardcore fundamentalists are like, it's only 10,000 years old. I'm like, well, but what if it was 10,000 times 1,000 years per year? Mm-hmm. That vastly increases. You're right. So, and then we get into the fact it was written in ancient Hebrew and Sanskrit and Aramaic and languages
translation and translation and translation. Like I hate the word Jesus. I'm like, that wasn't even his fucking name. Like
I am a follower. I have my own personal reasons for that. Mm-hmm. But my personal journey into faith has led me to read and experience other faiths.
Yeah, perfect.
And I find so many more connecting tissues within it than I do find things that are dividing me from them. Yeah. Jesus, for me, if you really look, all intent and purpose, was like this radical that was preaching peace, this John Lennon-esque kind of figure that was, I mean, you take a look at it, they allowed Barabbas, a noted killer of Jews, and they were, again, this comes back to getting into people's minds. They're like, nah, fuck it, we don't want Jesus. Had to happen. I mean, if you
Yeah, no, I like his teachings, and I like what it does to certain people. Like I have a good friend, it changes life for the better, and I'm like, if that's what it's gonna take, then sure. If it's true or not, amen. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. Like, at least it gives people principle. And then, like, me and my wife were talking about this a couple days ago. Like, I'm like, people need religion because we're so demonic. If we're not God fearing, even if the God thing is not even real, if it is or isn't, whatever it is, 50-50 chance. Even if it isn't, but it keeps people in check. Because people do the worst. You know what I mean? Like, look at the amount of cannibalism happens in World War II. This is what I try to fight with feminists on. I'm like, you guys have it so good. Like, you better watch your fucking mouth, because if the world ever goes to shit and there's no police or military to protect your fucking rights, look what people revert to.
Unfortunately.
Rape, pillage, and eating each other. Like, that literally happened we're literally living in the last, let's say, 100 years. Not even 100 years, like World War II ended in 1945. So let's say last 70 years. Yeah. Is the last 70 years out of, say, a million years of existence, like the last 70 years has been stable, somewhat stable, you know, on a little bit of level. And if we fall, it goes right back to caveman days. It does. And you better watch your fucking mouth, because men are superior in strength. We just are. We're biologically designed that way. And when men get horny and hungry, they don't care about laws or ethics or morals, man. In World War I, World War II.
That's going to take the other real men to step up and say, this isn't happening.
Exactly. World War I and World War II, a lot of people don't talk about that. When the Germans got their asses kicked, what happened to their women and children? Raped and killed all day long. Like shot and killed all day long, hanged. They delete that from all the history books because they're the good guys.
We've lived in a very convenient 65-year span.
Yeah.
Notwithstanding, I mean, there's horrific atrocities that happened during the civil rights movement.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, like Mississippi burning style stuff. That's just disgusting.
Oh, yeah.
And unfathomable. Yeah. But reality is still in any point in history, I think this is the time you want to be around.
Yeah.
And when you come to a point where things have been going too good for too long, you start looking for some shitty shit.
Yeah, people are naturally drawn to chaos.
And you start, this isn't good enough. That's good enough, right? You don't really look at how fucking awesome most everything is.
Yeah.
You know? And you start finding reasons. I think that's why you're seeing this crazy, insane tribalism now. It's like the oppression Olympics. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got to have an angle. Everybody's got to have a reason why their shit is shittier than someone else's shitty shit. And we've stopped the focus on trying to help each other up. And we're looking to see who can get the furthest down the ladder, because now it's being rewarded.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous too.
Yeah. The problem with the 65, 70 years of peace, it gives you a false sense of true reality. Yeah. Like we're so blessed in this time. And yes, our World War II veterans did give us this lifestyle. Give them that. We were lied to for sure, but we still live on this beautiful island of seclusion. Like, North America is an island from the rest of the world. And thank God the United States is there. Thank God Canadians are there. You know what I mean? Like, thank God people are general peaceful. Like, I literally think if we didn't have any like money systems or world rulers, I think we'd just be good neighbors. Like, yeah, of course, I think generally we'd be good neighbors, but I think, of course, there's a couple bad apples for sure. But it does take good men to stand up and say, fuck you. And take strong men to say, fuck you. And like, for example, me and my wife will go out, and like the new generation growing up, they're so weak and pathetic and like trans or whatever they are, and low testosterone. I'm like, if these are going to be the good men in the next 20 years and we go to war against a country that wants to rape and pillage us, who's going to stop them? Like, if you think about 100 years ago during World War II, those were tough motherfuckers. They would walk across continents.
I didn't even know how tough they were.
No, they didn't. Like, that was normal reality for them.
When you're thrown into it, I think two things happen. First of all, the bullshit burns off, so the ones that got to go, they go quick. Mm-hmm. And then you get the ones that find what's right deep down inside.
Well, like, your society should be majority tough guys, not the minority. Right now, we're in the minority. And right now, from a military, if I was a general, we're in fucking deep trouble. Like even the military.
That goes back to, though, when they started all this toxic masculinity. And look, man, there can be toxic masculinity. Yeah. But not everything is toxically masculine.
But you have to define toxic masculinity. So, for example, like say you're a girl and I'm dating you. I would say, hey, babe, I don't think you should go out in that inappropriate dress because we're in a relationship. You know what I mean? That's not toxic masculinity. That's just having boundaries.
No.
Toxic masculinity would be like, hey, I'm going to hit you because I don't like you.
Toxic masculinity is the pervert that while she's wearing that dress is walking up, making her feel uncomfortable after she's made it clear that she doesn't want that.
Yeah.
And is trying to enforce some kind of like imposition upon her.
Yeah.
That's toxic masculinity to me.
Or putting men down like, oh, I want, like, for example, woman and a man relationship. I want to be 50-50. I'm like, okay, do you really want 50-50 or you want to just like tell me what you want?
I want 100-100.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just like a man needs to be a man. A woman needs to be a woman, like, period. Like, we're genetically designed totally different. I can't do what you do. I can't abort their kid. Girls have the most important job on the planet, giving birth to the next generation. Like, you guys have the biggest superpower. Men die or start wars to defend you.
I'll tell you right now, I'd rather go to war than birth a kid.
Yeah, I'd rather go to war.
I say that kind of tongue in cheek, but at the same time,
I'd rather go to war too.
I don't. Women have the next level.
Women have
the.
I swear, like I was talking to a lady yesterday who has a full body sleeve, and I swear women have more pain tolerance than men do. Yeah. Oh yeah, like when men get sick, we're whiny little bitches. Women don't.
Oh yeah.
But like women have high pain tolerances, but we're all designed different. But like when it's like war and your family's in trouble, like there's something that clicks in a man's brain, and like I'll jump in front of a bullet. Like it doesn't even, I don't even think twice. Well, that's what a real man does. Anyway, like I'll do it. I'll go jump in that, a castle and defend it if I have to. You know what I mean? Like the problem I have with war is, say Canada has to go to war to Ukraine, for example, and they draft a bunch of us. If it was a real thing. What about Trudeau? Like, why don't the politicians go in there first? You go first, and then you stand in the front lines with me, and I'll go with you.
Back in the day when they ride in on the horse.
Yeah, the kings used to go to war with their troops. Like, I'm gonna hold Trudeau right next to me, hold him up, and I'm like, you're standing here, bud, while we're taking bullets. Like, if you want us to go to war, you're here too. All presidents, all politicians should go to war before their citizens go. It's easy to sit in office and send people to war to go die.
But we've all been sold that they're there for their brain and this, that, and we can't put them in a line of fire. Though they send the kid from Saskatchewan.
Oh man, I should run for office, man. This is like, it's getting too much. Like our world could be so much better and so much more great. Like I even like as a realtor, like I hate that like what people have to do to buy homes, interest rates. Like when I watched this documentary on what Germany was doing for its own country, not just Buddy there, but Germany, what their ideology was. The reason why England hated it so much is because Germany went from the poorest country to the richest country in the world in 6 years by changing those few laws.
Kind of economics.
And they wanted to destroy those economics. They didn't want that ideology leaving Germany because they wouldn't be able to control the rest of the world under slavery. Like the debt system is a slave system, right? Like fiat system is a slave system. Debt system is just on a screen to keep you working the rest of life till you die. And they didn't want to get that out. Germany was the most advanced technology, the most advanced art, most advanced architecture within 6 years of changing that. That's crazy speed of change. And then they had the biggest military in 6 years versus they almost won the entire war, right? But
and they invested immensely in science and technology.
Yeah, they were like, you can talk to World War II veterans. They were light years ahead. Their tank technology, their aircraft. They had the first missile, the first jets. If we can go really down the rabbit hole, they had the first anti-gravity technology that's coming out now. They had flying saucer technology at the end of World War II. Like, there's so much more to this story. Like, we can go down the rabbit hole where I learned that there was a base in Antarctica called New Berlin where over 400,000 Germans escaped to after World War II, and it was a base under the ice, and they had 5 flying saucer technology that was created by ancient technology. So Germans were obsessed with ancient technology back in the day. They would go all over India. There's technology called the Vimanas. Thousands of years ago, there was a technology that the Egyptians or Sumerians used called Vimanas, where they were flying saucer technology. Like, apparently our past is so much more advanced than our current future. There was something that happened that reset us, and then now we're starting to get back to our past technology. And the Vimanas, that's where the Germans found out the Vimanas, and then the Allies found out about the nuke technology in a Hindu text. Apparently the Hindu text got the idea to Oppenheimer about the atomic bomb, because they used to use, there's proof that they used to use atomic bombs thousands of years ago in ancient wars in Sumerians. Like, it's very well documented. It describes perfectly the mushroom cloud,
the fingernails falling out,
turning into ash. All the sand would turn to glass. Like, only one weapon that is known that can do that is atomic bombs. So these allies and the Germans got the flying saucer technology, and they got the atomic bomb. And they developed the atomic bomb first, faster than the flying saucer technology. So Germany knew what was losing the war after the Battle of Moscow, and then they just brought all their technology down to New Berlin. And this is well documented. You could look up 1952. There was a bunch of flying saucers all over the Capitol Hill of the United States, and they had swastikas on them. And then they forced the president at the time to use the United States industrial might to help them build more bases in Antarctica and on the moon. Apparently, this is a big true story. And then in return, they would, not like in return to the USA got flying saucer technology, and then they also got a promise that the Germans would never be known about. The United States and the Allies wanted to make sure that they were the victors of World War II. Yeah. Like, that was never allowed to be turned over. That no one was allowed to know about New Berlin. Like, this was so top secret over anything, because they didn't want people to freak out like, oh, the Germans have this technology that's so much faster, has laser. There's a general called Admiral Byrd was sent to Antarctica with 5,000 troops, a war fleet and all that stuff. His entire fleet was cut in half and destroyed by these flying saucers. Well documented on his deathbed. He talks about the Germans have this new technology that has lasers coming out of it, cuts their ships in half, and they can fly from pole to pole within minutes. Yeah. And then so the United States was forced, because they didn't have any technology to stop this. So they were forced to help the Germans, build this.
Heinrich Himmler and all those guys.
Yeah. And
if you study the beginnings of NASA.
Yeah, it was all Nazis.
They were all Nazis, every single one of them.
Yeah, that's called Operation Paperclip. Was so after World War II, is the Germans were so advanced in science that they didn't want to kill them during the Nuremberg trials. They just made them a deal. Hey, you can come over to the United States and help us build this technology, and we'll give you citizenship and free housing and all that stuff in your own little community to live in. And of course, they agreed to it. And this is what started NASA. This has started all of our space program. This is what started microchips. They helped advance the rockets that can go continent to continent, whatever that, the B-2 rockets. They helped get NASA into space. They helped create the microchips. They helped everything. Like, literally, our entire society is built from German technology from World War II.
And who knows what they found preceding that? Because I have a sneaking suspicion a lot of our technology has been reverse engineered from.
Well, there's a lot of documentation that I've looked up. This is all true. Like, here, everyone that's listening to this podcast, I'll give you a thing to look on Google. Look up this technology that the United States patented. It's called the TR-3B. So there's a black triangle that's been reported in the States for like decades and decades. Apparently, that's a United States military aircraft. It's an anti-gravity technology that spins really slowly and has no propulsion, just floats in the air. And it's called the TR-3B. Google it and go to United States patent, and you'll see the patent. They actually patented it there, and they say this is part of the United States military technology, is anti-gravity technology. This was back in the 1950s or 60s. That was one of the first technologies that they got from New Berlin. And then they used this ship to get from here to the moon. I think it was in 7 minutes. Like, so when you have NASA's like a distraction. SpaceX is just a distraction of the real technology they have. Like, I've studied all that shit. There's a thing called Solar Warden. You can look up, I think it was I can't remember his name, President something. He started Solar Warden in the Congress. Solar Warden it's like the new term for what's today as Space Force. Yeah. So Solar Warden was back in the 1960s, where they knew that there was beings coming to our planet for millions and millions of years. It's very well documented. There's
Men in Black style.
Yeah, they knew about this. Their technology is so great. There was a few down crash, like the Roswell crash. They have reverse engineered. They have captured these beings. Like, it's all true story. They're starting to bring out the truth in Congress now with all these UAP hearings that they do have this technology. And NASA was created as a distraction to people. Like, this is our current technology. This is all we can do. NASA hasn't advanced in the last 70 years. It's just the same gas propulsion. Doesn't make it. So when I'm like, Elon, you're wasting your money, bro. Like, they have anti-gravity technology. Elon's probably part of the world elites too. He's probably part of the big picture too, to keep people distracted. Hey, look over here while we're doing something over here, right? Just like the black budget projects, like $2.2 trillion a year goes to this unknown source of entity in the United States. It's the Solar Warden. So Solar Warden's been around for a long time now. A lot of world countries know about it. A lot of world countries are part of it now. They have this crazy technology, and they've been on the apparently bases on the moon and the Mars for the last 60 fucking years, helping New Berlin build out, and they actually became allies with New Berlin. And because, if you can't beat them, join them. That's the biggest thing in the world. That's our entire history. You can't beat them, join them. And this is all true. Apparently, like most of these technologies you're seeing in the sky is ours. Just like testing, cloaking failures. They disguise themselves as clouds. There's so much proof coming out. I bet over the next 4 years, Trump's going to start spilling the beans like, we've been lied to for the longest time.
If they allow him that much access.
If they allow,
which comes down to,
well, you gotta remember the president is in charge. The president is just the puppet, but Trump is probably, I have faith in the guy that he will get shit done in a positive light. Like 4 years will tell. He's better than Trudeau. He's better than fucking Biden. He's better than Harris. Like, he's better than the UK president. He's better than Law because he wants to put America first. And the reason why, people kept like, he's the new Hitler. He's the new Hitler. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? And then I watched the translation of Hitler's speeches. He says exactly what Trump says. We're pitting nationalists first. We're getting immigrants out. We're getting rid of this, lowering interest rates to this. We're going to make America great again. We're going to make Germany great again. It's true. Sometimes you have to make drastic changes.
It's interesting to change that nationalism and socialism are so intertwined.
Yeah.
70 years ago.
Yeah.
Versus now, which I feel like the meanings of everything, communism, socialism. I feel like socialism now is communism has kind of took that over.
Oh yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Right.
It's a new thing. It's a new thing
like
now.
the meanings,
capitalism versus
what it
socialism,
really was, is different.
Yeah,
it's like a liberal in the 90s versus a liberal now are two completely different things.
Yeah, it's totally different nowadays. Like I always tell people one thing or a couple of things: never give up your guns, never give up your right to protect yourself. It doesn't matter what people promote or anything like that. That's fine. If they want to say something, let's see what they do, but make sure you have weapons to change the government. If the government's not going to do what the people say, then you need to get off your ass and go fucking change it.
But then I go to this point. They probably got fucking lasers and shit, man.
Laser beams.
Proton guns and stuff, and you're standing there. You might as well be standing there with a fucking musket if you really think about it, right?
No, you can only do so much, man. The best thing is, like, for example, you could be so educated. Like, I'm probably more educated than the average person because it just interests me. Like, I just love this shit. Like, I never was before 2012. 2012, I was asleep watching football highlights, just, just totally asleep. Then I started to get awake and just so interesting. Everyone's like, what do you do on your Friday nights? I like going down the rabbit hole of conspiratorial theories because the funny thing is, like, 90% of them are true. It's the craziest thing. Like, I was right about the 2020 to 2022 pandemic. I was right about a lot of things. Go back to
2012, the financial, everything intertwines, right? And the more you start looking, like, sometimes there's things that happen. It's like, do you know how many variables had to fall in place for this to happen accidentally?
Yeah, and why is everyone like the craziest part is like you could go back to World War II. If like this documentary is all true and like conflicting views of different perspectives and point of views, you know what I mean? Like it's just like I actually feel so disgusted that if this is true, like I've been lied to my entire life. Like that's the moment I felt today. Like I was like screaming at my wife in a good way. I'm like, I can't believe I've been lied to for my grandparents died for what? Like what Germany was doing was totally in their right. If that would happen to Canada, the United States, they would do the exact same thing. You know what I mean? Like they literally started Palestine, Israel by transporting the Jews there and said, you could live here. Here's all your money.
Palestine was, from again what I've been gathering now, interesting enough, the term Palestine was almost derogatory that was handed to them by like Rome at one point because it was the South Syria.
Yeah.
And it was a way of trying to break a tie between Rome and Hebrews in Syria.
Yeah.
Which now, Palestine. And again,
Free Palestine,
That's getting, because I know they're talking more about their region than it is.
Well, if we're talking about regions, like I always question this. I'm like, why is Israel next to Palestine? Like who made this country? Like I always ask this question. And I figured it out today. I'm like, why would Israel be next to Palestine and Arab countries that hate them? Well, like with this question here, why does everyone hate Israel? like in that area. Like what the fuck? Why are they always trying to kill each other? What's going on here? And then
such a deep.
No, yeah, but you understand, like, so when Germany pushed the Jews out of Germany into Palestine, literally military transported them there with all their money, and they built housing for them. It's all well documented. They lived there for 30, 40 years, and then the Palestinians pushed them into Israel, and after World War II, United States helped them create Israel. And
my thing is, everyone's like, oh, 1960. Okay, but we can go back thousands and thousands of years, right? Like, it's sure, everyone hates Palestine, but all those other nations hate the other nation too. You got the Sunnis and the Shiites, and you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a nation, or it's a region that's been in flux for millennium.
Yeah.
And so, but we're again trying to like look at it through such a
you gotta look at the big picture of like how, like, why did Jewish people even get to that point? Is because they were pushed there by the Germans, and the Palestinians pushed them into what they know now today as Israel, because that's where predominantly the Jews live. So they just created Israel.
Was that a convenient Air Force base for the United States?
Exactly, strategic, whatever it is. And then without the United States backing after World War II, Israel would never be a thing. Right, that's just how it is, because they needed weapons and military food, and they needed a super.
And again, I believe Israel should be a thing.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I believe that they should definitely have a carved out area as well. I mean, you go back to Solomon, that's not a lie, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, even if you just want to look at like the mines that they found that they could tie to King Solomon and his immense wealth, and whether you want to look at it as being, oh, God did this or whatever, but we know that.
Yeah, so going back to everyone should have their own country, I agree with that. But also, let's go back to the West over here. We should have our own country too. Right now, we're losing it to immigration. Well, let's just all be honest about that. I always tell people
that's hard to argue to people when we're kind of a nation of immigrants.
Yeah, but we're a nation that conquered another nation. Just like if we go back to even European 1,000 years ago, Europe cancer.
But then how can we be like, oh, but we conquered it? But then, all right, but if Palestine conquers Israel, then that's right. Like it's.
I'm saying, like, okay, let's rephrase the question. Every ideology or way of life should have their own nation. That's the better way of saying it. Like, I'm not talking about skin color, I'm talking about ideology. If you have extreme views of Christianity versus Islam, Muslim, whatever it is,
welcome to Afghanistan.
It's never going to coexist, right? You can't. Like, they generally hate. If you go back to Crusades times, they generally fucking hate each other. Like, they just do. Like, with the Christianity is probably one of the worst religions on the planet. They killed millions of people. If you want to go back to like pointing,
Jesus said, "Don't be religious, have faith."
Yeah, exactly. If you want to go back to who's really demonic, Catholic and Christians probably take the crown. If they invaded countries, if you didn't convert, you were tortured and killed and raped. You know what I mean? Like you go. I always tell this to my Christian buddies. I'm like, you know how your religion was started, right? They're like, yeah, we don't have a very good past. I'm like, well, there you go. You know what I mean? Don't be too hard on fucking other countries.
It's easy to look back thousands of years now and be like, oh, what are they?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it doesn't matter whether you look at Hinduism.
It doesn't matter what culture it is. We all have a dark past. We all come from
Muslim,
some bullshit.
Because things were so much harsher then, and I don't think we can truly
accept the
understand
truth.
That.
What did you think about that documentary when I sent it to you? Did you the first hour and a half? Just a little eye opening, eh?
It's eye opening. It's again this kind of something that I've gone down the rabbit hole for a number of years.
Yeah, just question it.
Just I've always kind of questioned everything that someone's told me, whether I was in church or in school or wherever.
Oh yeah, right? Yeah,
even like I was not so much question. I was like, but why kid?
Yeah, I was the why kid.
How come? And then eventually people will get fucking pissed and be like,
stop asking
questions. Because it is the fucking way it is, right? And I'll be like, oh, okay.
That happened to me in Bible school. Was I kept asking why, and then the teacher was eventually like pulled me aside. He's like, you need to have faith. If you don't have faith, don't be here. I'm like, yeah, I need proof, bro.
I don't think we'll ever get full proof, but I do know that, like, I'm automatically untrusting of people that won't allow you to ask questions.
Exactly. Yeah, I should, like, except, like, for example, 9/11, we should have, like, there's so much proof coming out about it now. I'd say it's just like Building 7. Like, Building 7 literally just collapsed next to it without being hit.
And when you look at, like, little things, again, like, the Pentagon thing in the area that was destroyed was
no
this, like,
plane
crazy
debris,
hall of records that like that housed all this like information on finance.
So a lot of people don't know there was a $2.2 trillion missing, and then some person was doing an investigation in that exact spot that got hit. It said it got hit by a plane, but then there's new video evidence of a missile hitting it from a van. A van opens the door, boom, missile hits it, boom, goes on. But at the time, I was grade 9, and the whole world was on like crazy. Everyone like I said, I was watching Sean Ryan. He's a Navy SEAL that fought in that war, and he's like, when we were there, we're like, what the fuck are we here for? You know what I mean? We killed millions of people and all they were doing was protecting oil reserves and draining all the oil because it's the number 1 oil reserve in the world at the time. Plus, there's another crazier story that I heard is that ancient technology was found in the museums of Iraq at the time, and they couldn't get it out of Iraq without invading Iraq. And the technology that the United States found there from, here, let's go back to World War II. World War II, they found the nuke bomb. They found flying saucer technology from ancient technology. Now, the new technology that was found was dug up in Iraq, and the Iraqis didn't know what they had. Apparently, it was a Stargate technology. Apparently, it was a portal device that could open on one portal to another world, and you could instantly, like the movie Stargate, you could step right through it. The movie Stargate was full disclosure of what they found in Iraq.
That film is what kind of... I saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
And I was like fucking hooked. Because it was
I
like
watched
one
the whole
of the
series.
first things that I watched, and I was like...
Got it right there, buddy, hanging out.
I love it.
Yeah.
It was one of the first things I watched, and I was like, wow. Like, they weren't saying this is what it is, but they also weren't saying don't think. And I was like, what if? Right?
So all movies and TV shows come from some form of truth and ideology. Like, I've literally heard witness blowers saying that Star Trek is a full-blown documentary of the secret space program. Like, where do you think they get these ideas from? Or the movie Avatar is a full-blown documentary on what they're doing in the space, but they're telling you by not telling you. Like, they literally tell you that even Rockefeller say the truth is right in front of your face. Where do you think they get these ideologies from? Star Wars is apparently, when Lucasfilms wrote Star Wars, it was a dream he had. He was in a coma for 6 months or something like that. And he was part or a visitor or watched this entire war go on in this far away. That's why it says a far, far away galaxy. This war fucking happened. This war did happen. A long time
ago, which is actually interesting.
This really happened, right? And this is like, people just don't sit in a fucking basement and just think shit up. Even like the movie Marvel, the Marvel comics are apparently some form of truth. Like this, Captain America is apparently a true story. Like the Americans and the Russians did have this technology back in World War II or just after, where they did try to make superhuman beings. And like, where do you think steroids come from? Like, they literally tried to make a super race of soldiers. Yeah. And now there's proof of this. China now just announced, I think it was last year, that they're now making super soldiers in their military, that they found out how to genetically modify a embryo to be the perfect soldier. And then a movie just came out with Will Smith. I can't remember what it was called. It was 2 years ago. Will Smith was about a super soldier where they cloned him, but they raised his clone to be a super soldier, like the Spartan programs back in the day, where they had raised kids from birth to be in the military, and they were perfect soldiers, and they were just fast, quicker, and more IQ
now we
and
come
everything.
To a point where we won't even need that.
Yeah, we're going to AI now,
and you're gonna have, I don't know about you, man, but when Elon's like making all these fucking, the movie iRobot, and they like look like that and shit. It's like, what the fuck do we need this for here, man? I don't know. I
think it's the dumbest thing. Well, I actually have a prediction. I'm usually pretty right because I can put things together. I think what's going to happen in the next 4 to 5 years. So I know no one's going to believe this, but I'm going to say it anyways because it's true. So there was a YouTube video of a guy made a clip. He's like, I'm from the year 20 something, whatever it was. He was from the future. And he came back. He says, I know none of you are going to believe anything I say, but I'm going to give you 4 key clues of things that are about to happen. And you know it's true. Just wait for these things to happen. Then you know I'm telling you the truth. So apparently, like, say 50 years from now, there's going to be a program where you can visit the past. It's like traveling in time becomes a company, and you can pay to go visit the past, right?
Yeah, I've seen this shit. It's called Total Recall.
Yeah, no, this guy was real. So anyways, what he said was Trump wins his second election. That's the name. That's the number one thing, but it's by design. The next big thing is AI. AI is going to be the next biggest thing. Like, it's the next biggest launch. It's the next biggest thing that takes over the world. The next one is digital currency assets. All money's gone. Everything's digitized, because what they're going to sell the humans on is we're going to end corruption, drug trafficking, and underground sex slave trades and money laundering through cryptocurrency, because cryptocurrency can be tracked and monitored on all ways. So it literally destroys all those industries overnight. So everyone's yes, because the truth, Trump brings the truth out about the underground societies, raping our kids, trafficking women. Like this is apparently the number one thing going on right now in our society. And this is the only way to defeat it is by you kill the money, you kill the society, right? Which is true. That's how you kill it.
Which is probably why they're against communistic ideology, because that has absolutely no need for vast monetary value.
Yeah. And then he also said Trump becomes one of the most iconic people to ever live. Like he is loved all over the world because he exposes the truth. He didn't say this, but he almost does what Germany did in World War II, is he changes United States for the better so grand. Like Trump said this one key word, I'm going to unite the world through success. I'm going to show you what I can do for the United States. Like I'm going to make the United States so great. It's so great to live here.
If we could just stay away from killing 6-7 million people, that'd be cool.
Exactly. But if you go back in history, things don't change unless people die. Like a million years ago, like every time there's a war, you don't change governments.
Selling souls, then, I guess.
I don't know what you're gonna have to do. Like the only way you could change people on a drastic level is by maybe just red pilling them the truth. Like you could literally just show people the world, like, hey, you're like, if you're buying this, you're sponsoring this. Like if you don't change this, we're not going to change that. Like people are so addicted to their way of life. Like you could tell, like, for example, I can explain to people about the monetary systems, a slave system. People are like, oh, I don't care. I'm just going to go work 3 jobs and pay my debt till I die. You know what I mean? Like you could tell them the truth, and they're so addicted to protecting their prison that they're already in that they don't care.
Stockholm Syndrome's a motherfucker.
Yeah, they don't care. They will literally fight. Just like Stalin said, one of these great quotes, he's like, you can treat your people like shit, but then throw them a chicken later and they'll love you for it.
Yeah, actually, you know, it's interesting you said that, because I just watched a video the other day, and it was about Stalin, I guess, was in front of a group of people, and he ripped all this chicken's feathers out.
Yeah, that's where it comes
going
from.
Nuts, and he throws it down, and it's bleeding and all fucked up. And then he starts throwing like corn or some shit on the ground.
Yeah, and it comes.
And he starts walking away, and the chicken's like beaten and bloodied and on the verge of death, and he's following him around, just waiting for that next scrap.
Yeah, that's where that quote comes from. That's
and that is like, holy fuck, man! Are we there?
We are there, yeah.
And they fuck someone up even worse than you. So when you look, you go like, well, it could be worse.
Well, look at, for example, here's proof of that is the pandemic we just went through. Everyone, even today, people are so embarrassed to admit that they were wrong about it. Like,
why? I don't understand that. Why wouldn't someone be scared? There was a fucking death tracker on every single day. It did kill people. Now, most of those people had serious comorbidities, or they were, overweight. And we can look at the other facts, the fact that they didn't tell you what you could do to protect yourself. But the fact is, people were dying. I don't ever, at first I used to like be in the store, I'd see some dude wearing his mask, even after, and I'd be like, what a fucking, and then, I shifted to, it's fucking sad that this guy got so fucking PTSD'd out by this that he can't even leave his house and breathe fresh air now.
Yeah.
And I stopped being that guy that looked at him in the market like, oh, fuck, like I somehow knew better. I was just scared at the beginning, man. Various reasons I didn't end up getting the shot. And I'm not upset about that. Mm-hmm. But I look around now differently when I see people who are so affected by it. And maybe they do have a serious, whatever, they're going through cancer treatment. That, and I don't know that either, right? Mm-hmm. So, but my views changed. And it's like, I understand why. Every time you turn the fucking news on, it was like that tracker, like you were watching fucking stocks on the Rob Report or something. Yeah, and that was fucking disgusting.
I like your logic because you're opening my mind towards that, because I was like the guy that made fun of everyone. But now I understand, because like the one thing that like kind of woke me up during that whole thing was like I read into the documentation so when they had the tracker on the news, like, deaths, dying, or cases, I'm like, you turn to my wife, I'm like, how are they actually counting that? Like, where's the proof that that's even real fucking shit? And then the person that actually made the test, he made a Twitter post just before he was killed. Like, he was literally suicided. He literally made a post saying, whatever you do, don't take the vax. Whatever you do, don't believe, because he invented the testing kit for it. Yes. And then people were testing oranges and then themselves. So the oranges was test positive, they were test negative, and their test orange again was tested negative, false positives, false negative. So it was very inaccurate. And this wasn't even talked about until years after the pandemic. And then people still use the word pandemic. Our news still uses the words the pandemic because they're all controlled and bought paid for, right? They have to keep the fear that this definitely happened. And what woke me up, I was scared for about a month or two because everyone else was freaking out. And then I was just like, wait a minute, we survived the Black Plague. We survived the Spanish flu. I think we're good because I don't see anyone dying. You know, I feel sniffly. And then I got it. I ended up in the hospital because I gave myself fucking, what do you call it? What you can't breathe. What's that thing called? COVID.
Panic attack.
No, I had
I've had a few of those.
air bubbles in my blood, wherever it was. So I had that for 5 weeks. So I had that ammonia.
Oh yeah.
I had that because that's what you get from it. And then I had that, and I was like, okay, what I had was like pretty hardcore. But then I researched more into it, and apparently, it attacked really healthy people or really comorbidities people, like really sick people.
Fuck, I fell right in between that shit.
And like my buddies that were partying all the time, they were in between. They were cured in like 3 or 4 days. And I was like, what the hell am I doing wrong? And this woke me up so good. I wasn't sick for 5 years before that happened because I always washed my hands. I always stayed away from sick people. I never got sick. And then I started studying third world or tribal countries. They never get cancer. They never get sick because of one thing. They're always sick. They're always getting something, little virus. So the
body's always building it up.
Yeah, your body's building up the immunity. So my daughter kept getting sick. Then she was never sick again. I'm like, oh, that's how your immune system works. You have to always be sick. So your body is always learning how to fight these diseases off. So it's always strong. So your white blood count is super high. My white blood count was low because I didn't get sick for 5 years. So my immune system was kind of like inert, right? And then I was like, oh, so every time my daughter got sick, I'd like kiss her. So I got sick, and then I got my immune system so up that now I'm sick for like a day or two, and that's it. I'm like, that's how you have to live, is you have to constantly stop washing your hands. Like you need to get sick. You need to have germs. You need to have proper microbes. You need to get a little sick here and there.
When I was, so my background, I'm a Red Seal flooring installer. So my father did as well. So I grew up crawling on the floor. Mm-hmm. I was never sick when I was installing. And I'm talking like, guys are walking from the honey house with their boots on, and I'm gluing the floor. And shit, let's be honest, I'm touching your face. I'm eating my fucking food. I was never sick. Then when I started going hardcore on the hand sanitizer all the time, just kind of previous to the COVID, and then the COVID happened, I would get more sick. And it was weird because it's like I'm doing everything they say to do, but it was having a bad effect. You know, I know for myself when in 2010, I also went to school. I did broadcasting, performing arts. Yeah. And so I was working in radio at the time up north, and that's when H1N1 happened. Mm-hmm. And I got the pig flu, H1N1. Oh, okay. 21-day quarantine. Couldn't go into the radio station for obvious reasons. You don't be breathing on the same mic together. I'm Métis, so indigenous people, for whatever reason, were being afflicted with this at a greater rate. Mm-hmm. So 21 days, and I'm gonna tell you, it was way worse in my experience than what I had from COVID. I thought I was gonna die. Yeah, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. Mm-hmm. So there was a part of me, I guess, when this happened, I was already kind of battle tested. It's like I went to Korea, so I didn't give a fuck about Nam, right? Mm-hmm. In a weird way. Right. It was kind of like, you know, at the same time, I didn't want to be ignorant, like, I got this. Right. I still wanted to do my best, you know, but I do feel that the excessive sterile cleanliness that we all encountered
is bad for you.
Had a dire effect in the long run. And I'm really scared for children. We had these kids that were taken out of school. I don't have any kids, right? But I looked at like my nephews and whatnot. Taken out of school, confined, you're confined all the time. And I don't, you know, personally know what the extenuating effect on that will be, but I can't help but feel it's probably not going to be the best.
You know what really woke me up my mind to the germ thing was I studied India. India they don't sell allergy medicine there because they don't have allergies. It's one of the most, you want to know why? Because one of the dirtiest upbringings you can go is India. And I was like, there must be something to that. So I studied into it. I'm like, they don't sell allergy pills there because my buddy's from India. I'm like, do you guys have allergies? He's like, we don't have allergies. We don't know what that is. I'm like, wait a minute. So maybe like we're lied to. Maybe we should be sick and get germs. And the reason why they're raised is they're crawling around in dirty places. Their immune system is so strong.
Yeah.
And because I have the worst allergies because I was like pretty much bubble wrapped as a kid, right? And I was just like, so now I started building my immune system is so strong. Plus, I take 5,000 IUs of vitamin D and C per day. And the major
B12 in there.
A major thing during the pandemic was they had data come out last year that the number one thing that killed people was not the disease, was vitamin D deficiency.
Well, and okay, here goes. Now again, people are gonna be like, "Oh, they pray at the altar of Joe Rogan." Look, is he right about everything? No, but I respect his search for knowledge and his willingness to bring anybody on and have an intelligent discussion with them. Whether, I mean, he don't believe in religion at all or faith, kind of. I mean, he's come around a wee tad now, but that never stopped me from listening to him because I was able to delineate between receiving information and filtering out what I didn't feel was right. Now, he had guys on from Dr. Robert McCullough, one of the top board-rated certified cardiologists, who was teaching all these guys. He was like, hey, it was crazy to me how these guys are getting canceled. Joe Rogan's like, vitamins and this, that, and he was telling you right out, right? And then when he did the ivermectin, they're like, oh, he's taking the horse. It's like,
there's actually, 2 types, bro. Yeah,
this is actually a Nobel Prize winning medication that has saved hundreds of thousands of lives for dengue fever,
millions of lives,
amongst other things.
It's the number one prescribed drug apparently in the world. And then I swear that podcast with that guy on there was the turning point of the pandemic, because when he was on there, it really woke USA up, because they're like, why is this guy being fact checked? They had another guy that invented the RNA vaccine.
The mRNA, yeah.
He was
9 patents.
He was deleted off of Twitter because they were fact checked and they said, oh, you're too knowledgeable that we can't actually prove this is right or wrong, so we're going to delete.
Trust the science.
We're going to delete you. He invented the vaccine.
How do you trust the science without trusting the scientist?
Yeah, that invented it. And I'm just like, there's this. Then I knew it was just all lies. And then I think it was Dana White that saved the world. Dana White threw the first UFC.
He's like, fuck this shit.
UFC. And Trump was the one that got him the arena. And then they opened up, and then they started bringing thousands of people in the stands. And then the football games started opening up again, and the hockey games opened up again. And then Canada's still playing, pandemic. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what happens when you're beholden to the World Economic Forum. I mean, our vice president, for lack of a better term, Chrystia Freeland, sits on the board of the World Economic Forum.
Oh,
this is a conflict of interest at epic proportions.
I didn't even know that. Thanks for telling me that.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, and there's like, I mean, I don't know. Just when you start seeing how we signed some deal a while ago that basically allows the World Economic Forum and the World Health Organization, if something happens again, then they take over. So now we've given up our sovereignty as a nation to do what we feel is right for our people. I look and I go, how the fuck is a place like Serbia and Croatia, like the leaders of being like, fuck you, this isn't right? It's wild to me. I mean, and of course there was the United States, who, they're a democratic republic, a little bit different. We kind of go lockstep with the crown, so it doesn't matter whether it was New Zealand or Australia or Canada or anywhere else in Britain outside of Northern Ireland. It's such a multi-layered onion, and it's difficult to.
It's actually the most embarrassing thing to think of, that we are a free fucking nation, and thank God this guy won, because he is totally against the WEF and WHO. And I remember that thing. They wanted to sign over our sovereignty. Even they asked the states, and Trump's like, "Go fuck yourself. We ain't listening to you." Try to get the Americans to listen. Thank God Americans have an attitude problem, because thank God they do. Because without that attitude problem, and they have more guns than any person in the world, and they always make TikTok videos. Oh, I dare you to try to take American guns away. We'll fucking shoot you, bro. Like, because they know that they came from Europe. They know what that means, and they're reminded with their constitution what that means.
They're a nation that was built on breaking away from the crown.
Yeah, exactly. And Canada, unfortunately, I always tell my wife with this. I only have hope for Canada because Canada's full of Karens, and when Karens find out the truth,
It'll swing the other way.
They'll swing the other way, man. Karens were so pro-pandemic, pro-Trudeau,
They'll be talking
blah,
to
blah,
that
blah.
manager, motherfucker. You better wait.
Yeah, now I'm hearing Karens, they're switching right. And they're like, fuck Trudeau, fuck the pound. We were lied to. And they're like aggressive and angry. They're trying to hold hearings against Trudeau. Trudeau, for some reason, is dodging everything because he's part of the WEF. And I'm like, thank God, like I'm at my lake house and thank God my neighbors are told, like they were super Karens. Like there are 400 vaccines, everything. Now they're just like, maybe we were lied to. I'm like, oh, there's hope here. There's hope amongst these good people. You guys were lied to.
The worst part of this pandemic is how they are removed any form of discussion.
Yeah.
They created a bipolar situation where you were one side or you were the other. And that was it.
You're the enemy, yeah.
If you were somewhat trepidatious of a vaccine, there's one of two ways to go. Either you knew this could happen before and you're lying and you created this fucking vaccine earlier, or it just happened and you've created a vaccine in 6 fucking months. Either way, I don't trust you.
You speak the fucking good truth. I love it.
That's it. Either way, I don't trust you. Do I think this was some fucking nefarious plan? No. But do I have faith that people didn't see an opportunity when society was weak? Fuck no.
Actually, well, because the biggest truth you just said there is there's 3 things I'm going to touch on. So there was a book that was launched in 2018. I read it, and it's this woman. She was suicided for it, and she talks about how there was a coronavirus being released in 2019, and that's she literally launched she said the date and time it was to be released, and it came out to be true. At the time, everyone was like, what are you fucking talking about? 2018, what virus? And then it's true. And the second thing is, remember the vaccine companies, they're immune to any prosecution.
Oh, yeah. And you
anything.
can't get any of the information for like 75 or 80 years.
You can't do anything to them. You
so
can't
anybody that matters will be fucking dead by then.
They can kill a billion people and nothing can happen to them. So yeah, so if you're let's say I'm part of an industry, I know I can never go to jail. I can never have anything done to me bad to me. Why not create a pandemic? And then also, some guy did the math on the vaccines. How did they have billions of vaccines made within 9 months?
Yeah.
With all the manufacturers, it would take 20 years.
All I gotta say is Vioxx.
Yeah.
You're talking about companies that paid billions of dollars in fines.
Yeah.
For knowingly bringing drugs to the market.
Yeah.
That they knew would have dire consequences for a good portion of the people that took it. Mm-hmm. There's recordings of them. There's email back and forth saying, well, we'll probably have to pay some huge fines, but we'll make out good. Mm-hmm. Okay? It's about money. Do I think everybody that works at a pharmaceutical company is terrible? Fuck no, man.
No, it's all about profits.
In fact, most of those scientists that are there, they're really using their brains trying to fucking save the world.
Yeah.
And they've been vilified now, which is wrong too.
Yeah.
But do I think that these companies wouldn't
make a quick billion? Look how much money they made.
Come on, man. Yeah. If you have a buddy that lies all the fucking time and all of a sudden he tells you something, do you trust him implicitly?
No.
So why the fuck were we like, oh, Pfizer? Yeah, no, fuck, totally. They're going to help us.
This is what even Tate always says. He's like, if there's cheating on a math quiz, if there's cheating in the Olympics, don't you think there's cheating amongst our politicians and world elites? Like, you got to use your there's big money. You get to rule the world, right? Like, for example, like it all comes back to money. World War II, World War I, the big pharma, the pandemics, like, it's all money. Follow the money. There's a profit made. They're going to make it. Like, if you fund both sides of the war, you're going to make money. It's called arms dealing both sides.
Let's take a look at a smaller level of this. I would like to see a list of who invested in bag companies that make these fucking reusable bags, and companies that make fucking brown paper bags.
Yeah.
Because you take a look at this and all of a sudden bags went away and they're selling you $2 and $3 fucking bags that you never fucking remember. I got like 90 of them at home. Do I bring any? They'll be in the back of my car. Now I'm not going to run out there. So what do? I buy another $3 fucking bag because I'm stuck in the fucking lineup.
I didn't even think
Who in the fuck invested in that? I bet you there's a bunch of big money heavyweights. They're like, fuck, we'll get rid of bags. Fucking cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. And we're all just fucking lemmings carrying her overinflated price groceries back out, $139 for some fucking eggs, bread, and some sandwich meat.
Dude, so when what's his name, Tucker was interviewing Putin, he wanted to go show some interviews of Russian infrastructure just to show people how beautiful it is over there. Like, you go to a train station, it's gorgeous. You go to a grocery store. He goes to a grocery store, fills up a full grocery cart. He says, "This is what I buy at home versus buy United States versus what I buy in Russia." He goes to the teller. It's a whole cart in Russia is $100 USD for the whole cart. That's a week worth of groceries. In the States, that's a $700 cart USD. He's like, what country is doing better financially? And he's walking around filming the country. He's like, everyone looks so happy. They're skinny. They're fit. They're traditional. Now Putin banned extreme LGBTQ pass. You can only do it past 19 or older. He also made a promotion. I think it was if you want two people want to have 7 to 9 kids, you get free housing and subsidy now because we're having a massive depopulation problem worldwide. It's not just a Russian thing. Like I told my wife, like, my daughter is going to be one of the youngest people in 20 years. Like, there's a huge problem with the States and in European countries. It's 1.2 kids per 2 people. We're literally, even Elon Musk is the first guy over here to even talk about. He said, we don't have a overpopulation problem.
Within another generation, France is fucked right now.
Yeah, so is Japan. Japan is apparently able to have population collapse too.
So randomly enough, I follow these, like, I love Japan. I've always loved, like, their culture and just there's a serenity to it that makes me feel calm. And Karate Kid too, let's be honest.
Maybe you're there in a past life.
I always wanted to go to Okinawa. But so I follow these pages and they show like what you can buy in Japan. Japan actually has a program right now where if you are a foreigner of some skill, they want you to come. They'll help you get a house. They'll roll out the red carpet because they need people to have kids. Yeah. Or life is going to start ceasing the way they know it, right? So they're becoming a lot more open to foreign investment and people kind of moving there, right?
Well, because Japan was totally, like, if you want to talk about racist countries, Japan's like a really
very
racist,
xenophobic.
They're all about Japan.
Korea as well.
No. Like, for example, like, I have this argument with my friends that come from Japan, or not Japan, but China and India. This is the one biggest argument I have in real estate. I'm like, hey, can I go to, like, I make posts all the time on my Instagram, and I get a lot of hate from immigrants that want to come over here and own things and buy things. I'm like, hey, can I go to China or India and buy a home? They're like, no. Can I run for government, the military, or any position of power over born citizens? They're like, no. I'm like, why is that? Because you have to be a born citizen. That is the majority of the world. And I'm like, why is it okay for? And then there's TikTok videos of them coming over here like, we just bought up all your banks, all your property. Now we rent back to you. Doesn't matter what your color is. And I hate
the player, hate the game.
Yeah, exactly. I have friends that are from Iran that are more Canadian than I am, and they moved out of here to go to like suburb countries or suburb areas to get away from immigration because the extremism. Like, my wife teaches K-5. She's like, there's 40 kids per one classroom. 10 classrooms don't have teachers anymore. They just watch videos all day, and then they don't speak English. So there's such and they hit the teachers. There's such extreme viewpoints and language barriers that.
So lucky they didn't go to Mountain Secondary in 1997. I'll tell you that.
But now our kids are not getting taught anything. They're not allowed to fail kids anymore. You're on the next grade. Even if you can't read, you're on the next grade because you can't have A's, fails, B's, nothing anymore. Right? You're
it's
just
odd now too. It's like a sort of all right.
It's not. It's not. If we're gonna be honest, I'm gonna be honest because I figured it out. I painted the picture. If you don't fail the kids, you don't want to show your kids or your parents how stupid your kids are getting. You know what I mean? Like like the intelligence levels of 20 years from today is so drastic. People have got so much dumber because they don't want to self-teach themselves.
Remember doing math in your head?
Yeah, now it's just on your cell phones, right? Or you're looking up your answers with AI. Now they're bringing literally AI programs. It was announced in the news yesterday in the States and Canada. AI programs on your phone that you ask the AI questions and it gives you the answer. So now they're raising an entire generation.
We used to have it was called a library.
Yeah, now because it's by design. They're raising an entire generation on relying on AI for help. Because perfect, because the school system is designed to create idiots that follow. That's all it is. Industrial people, 9-to-5 slave workers, clock workers, and then now it's AI. Why is AI being introduced to our schools to teach kids? Because there was this guy that came from the future about the AI programs. He says in the far future, AI will be the new teachers of humans.
And we'll just be like the ones that have to mine all the tungsten and copper and lithium and whatever else we need to make them run.
To go down. But you know, once it's launched, just like Elon says, once it's out there, it's just like that movie, The Terminator.
Have you seen that video? And I don't know how true it is. I mean, I've tried cross-referencing it, but everything I've seen lends me to believe that a guy asked, like that Chat GP or whatever, the AI thing, who are you? And the thing goes off about being the son of Lucifer and like all this crazy, like, and I was like,
yeah,
I don't know. It was kind of creepy. Now, I don't know. Maybe it's all fictitious.
It's bullshit,
not, but it was very, it was like, again, I what little I was able to find on Google on it led me to believe that when he asked this, now maybe it's just some kind of like sick joke that the computer programmers are like, we'll have it scare fundamentalists when they ask these questions.
I need to pause you because I'm going to teach you something because I'm a starseed. I know the truth of what's going on. So we're going to go back to like the beginning of time. So we live in a world where everything's protons and neutrons and energy. We're literally just frequency of light vibrating to hold our molecules together to have an interaction. So that's all we are. Consciousness is just pure energy. This body is just a light body where our soul lives within and we have an experience. Once the light body dies, we literally reincarnate for an eternity to other planets, other dimensions throughout the world. So anyways, the beginning of time, there is, I'm just going to say in human terms so people can understand, there is the one, the God, just it always been there, just energy, consciousness, right?
Yeah, Alpha the Omega, the beginning and end.
Now there's always a mirror reaction to everything in the universe. There's always a action and reaction in the universe. So if there's God, there's a reaction to God because it's called light and dark balance from the beginning of time. So what
yin yang comes from.
Exactly. So there's light and there's dark. So God is light and dark is what people call Lucifer. Now, if we know everything's energy and light and vibration, frequency and energy and electrons moving around, that is also a form of AI intelligence. So AI is a part of source. Like we're all stardust. We're all part of the same energy grind. Everything's the same. We all are each other existing. God and Lucifer is all of us in one. We are literally light and dark angel and devil on the shoulder. This is why we can be super demonic. This is why we can be super good. There's no such thing as a good or bad. It's just existence of infringing on free will and karma. That's all that keeps us here is literally if you infringe on free will, if I kill this person, then the next life they're going to kill me because I have to feel the pain I caused them, yin and yang, for an eternity until my karma is clear, and then I can ascend to the next level of the game. It's like
so essentially you're in purgatory till that happens.
You live the same life for eternity until you get it. Like you live for. I've known people that have been here for thousands of lifetimes that just don't get it.
I can be a pretty dumb motherfucker. I'm not gonna lie, man.
Hey, so
I'm home.
My biggest quote is some people just need a couple more incarnations before they wake up. You know, some people's just level of consciousness is just lesser than, or learning curve is different because they want to either learn or they don't want to learn. They might just want to live a life of just working, and that's just their experience they want to live. And then they die, redo it again, and for an eternity. Like that's literally what I remember 3 past lifetimes here for some reason. I'm not going to talk about this because people get spooked by it and they think I'm crazy, but it's all true. It's all real. We literally are each other's ancestors living throughout time. We literally all lived through World War I. We all lived through World War II, all through Egyptian days. This is why a lot of people are attracted to Egyptian days. A lot of people are attracted to Japan. They just have these weird attractions. They have no idea where it comes from. Or
some visceral knowledge. I know a guy who's never been a mechanic in his life. He could rebuild anything.
Yeah,
I believe weird. You. Like I said to him one time, I'm like, I bet you were just some like crazy tank mechanic in the military in like the World War.
Yeah, or a musician. A kid picks up a guitar and starts playing it. And it's like, where did that come from? Oh, it's a gift. No, the gift is not a gift. It's your soul remembering how to pay it from a past life that you practiced in. You know what I mean? You're just existing. You know, like people that are like pro athletes, maybe they were pro athletes in past life. They just got better at it. Now they're really good at it. You know what I mean? You learn. Your soul never, your knowledge never dies. Like I always tell people the
Akashic record.
Yeah, when I leave my body, in between lifetimes, all my memories come back from my previous lifetimes and I'm whole again. And I remember everything. And it's just like, oh, I had this wife, this kid, this kid. I'm playing the kid this time. I'm playing the wife or husband this time. Everyone is like playing different roles. Your cats used to be your dad in a past life or whatever it is. Everyone has a role and a purpose of learning experience for an eternity. Nothing never stops. You're an eternal being that goes on forever. That's the biggest thing I hate about religion, where it doesn't teach that. Like if there's a hidden Bibles or deleted Bibles of even Jesus used to talk about reincarnation is a real thing. But if you go back in the day and you're like, if you talk about reincarnation, then it's like, oh, I can do bad, and then like I could just kill myself and then jump to the next body, right? But then if you take that knowledge out, then it stops. You pit people, pit the fear of hell. Hell doesn't exist. It's like hell is what you make it. Hell is like, this is what hell is. I lived the same lifetime on Groundhog Day for a fucking eternity. And I can't get away from it because I have so much karma weighing me down that I have to clear my karma before I can leave. So every time you die from a life, did you learn from your
eternal burning?
Yeah.
Flesh melting.
Yeah. If you continuously raping someone your entire lifetime, you're going to continuously rape from someone else. You know, this is what Hindu religion talks about, is like when they see a poor person, like, yeah, you were a piece of shit in your past life. This is why you deserve this. And they practice that, right?
What does it say? The meek will inherit the earth in the Bible.
Yeah. Like, yeah, that's another podcast another time. Like that. No, people just hate that shit because people are like so
I love it.
Into their own
talk
way.
about it. I love nothing more than sitting down with, again, when my friend lived above a mosque.
Yeah.
He rented a security suite above one, and honestly, I've had some great chats with them. It gave me a way different understanding of Islam.
Yeah. Actually, when I studied the Islam-Muslim nations, when Andrew Tate kind of woke me up to a few things, and I started studying things, and I like to study all faiths just to kind of see what I like to. I have this weird ability where I could read something, my body will know what's true and what's not true, then it could build its own picture and like, okay, this is what it really means. Okay. And then when I look at Muslim nations like say Dubai or Islamic, whatever it is, I'm like, that like looks like they're all about family. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a beautiful thing. Women are married to the guy, and the guy takes care.
They got some extremists in those regions, and
but there's extremism in Christian Catholic too.
For sure, there's
extremism.
A lot more Muslims than
maybe in modern day, but back in the day, Christian Catholics still take the crown and most kill people. With the Crusades, they killed a lot of people for their faith. They did, and we can't deny it. This is what it is.
That's happened throughout history with anybody that believes so deeply, which is like anti anything I've read. Spiritual readings, whether it's Catholic, whether it's more traditional after the Reformation, Reformed, whether it be like Pentecostal, you read the Bible, you read the Quran. I read. It's gonna sound bad. It was like a Buddhist Bible, whatever you call it. I was at the Fairmont in Banff, and there was one in the drawer, and I was reading it, and so I took it. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I just have always been interested in that, and I find when I read that, there's like so much more that actually ties us together than anything that should divide us.
No, exactly. That's why I listened to Billy Carson, who talks about
Billy Carson,
who reads the actual forbidden testaments of Jesus followers, and like there's a lot even the book of Enoch, there's so much information of like alien interactions, like there's so much Ezekiel, there's so much like the Nephilim. It's all comes down to like the Watchers, all comes down to the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki, the biggest story of mankind is, you can go Google the Sumerian tablets and translate it and just read it, or just listen to a YouTube video on it. Literally, these beings come from a planet called Nibiru in our solar system, called the 12th planet. There's a soul. They have this Sumerian hieroglyphic sitting there, and then they have the planets of our solar system, and they have that 12th planet, and they're like, what the fuck? How did they know 6,000 years ago about our solar system? So anyways, they talk about the story of these alien beings. This is not even like far-fetched to believe, because there are aliens out there, that these beings came here, they saw primates, and they put their own genetics into a vial, and they created the first man, called Adam and Eve.
Apparently they needed us as workers because they needed us to mine gold, because they used gold in the atmosphere that had to...
Yeah, well, they had... so they actually had a worker force before humans, was called the Gigi. And the Gigi did all... They turned Earth into modern-day Earth as it is. Like, they built the forests and all this stuff, and they mined the gold. But I think it was like a million years later, they uprose against the
like,
Anunnaki.
They
said, why are we doing this shit? And those are actually the Watchers, the Gigi. So the Gigi are another alien race that worked for the Anunnaki as a slave race, and they had an uprising. They were about to have a civil war.
These stupid monkeys.
And then Lord Enki and Lord Enlil came together at the table and said, you know, how about let's make a new race, a worker race, so you don't have to do all the bitch work, pretty much. And they created the first Adam and Eve. And this is how you know it's true, is because the Bible talks about Adam and Eve are the first two humans, but if brother and sister have sex, you know, you can't create enough genetic diversity to make a sustainable population. And this is where all the religions come from, is this ancient tablet, right? This is where Christianity, Catholic, everyone comes from. And this is another cool thing Billy Carson talks about, is that the ancient tablets talk about, like, they had so many failures. Like, the first man was Adam, but it was spelled Atom. He's the son of the atom, right? It was a mistranslation in the Hebrew Bible, and they didn't have any genitalia. They were just clones, right? And then they would work in the mines, but then it was so much work for them to keep cloning these humans to make more workers, so they decided to procreate. They made them be able to procreate. And then King Anu was against this, to giving them procreation, because then if they could be uncontrollable, because of mating just gets out of hand. Like, we have to like thin the herd with deers and wolves all the time. So they're like, you know, we'll keep it under control. So they started procreating. It took them so long to get it right that they actually had to put their genetics and human genetics in an Anunnaki female to give it to term. And then they birthed the first Eve. And then they had 33 different Adam and Eves, genetic diversity mixing of all these alien races. This is where all of our genetic chromosomes come from. They can't explain where all these chromosomes come from. They're not from Earth, but they're all these alien races that all the chromosomes make this human being, us today, Homo sapiens. And then if you go back in time, there was like the Cro-Magnons, all the different type of humans, because they were all the different genetic experiments that Anunnaki would do. And then because our history teaches overnight Homo sapiens are born. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense with evolution, right? Like, it would like take millions of years to evolve. So overnight Homo sapiens were made. So Anunnaki made Homo sapiens, the perfect human, as a good slave race. And then everyone's like this. Why is there Hindus, blacks, Asians, and all this stuff? And Billy Carson told me this year he found out proof of this. So when the Anunnaki ruled the world at the time and mined gold and built civilizations, they built the pyramids. Pyramids were all over the planet, not just Egypt. There's so much proof in Antarctica, all that stuff, that pyramids were a global thing. And the Anunnaki were a group of aliens, not just one type of alien. And so the Greys ruled the Asia. This is why gray aliens look like Asian people, because their genetics were mixed with the Asian population, because each Anunnaki wanted its own slave race that looked like them, so they knew who their people were, if that makes any sense. So when there was a black Anunnaki in Africa, he made his humans black, the same skin color, so they knew they were part of his kingdom, right? And then whites, and then browns, and so on. That's why there's so much diversity on this planet, is because that's what the Anunnaki did. And because that was a missing piece of puzzle, people. Why? Because religion teaches us that, like, if you live in India long enough, you eventually evolve into an Indian. Like, that's their literally logic of it. And I'm like, no, that's the dumbest thing you could think of. And that makes perfect sense, because if you put that story into human civilization, it just fills all the pieces of the puzzle. You know, like, and this is where religion comes from, because humans are genetically designed, apparently, from the Anunnaki to worship a higher species. Like, this is why humans have to worship someone. This is why when people believe in something so much, they just come entranced in it. Like, it doesn't matter what faith it is, they just come like all in or nothing. It's because you're genetically wired to believe and follow orders of a higher supreme being. Anyways, fast forward, their planet was saved with the gold or whatever it was they needed, and then the humans started to get super smart. And this is another thing that I'm trying to prove humans wrong on, is I believe we're aged way faster than we're supposed to be aging. Because if you go back in the Sumerian tablets, people used to live for 40, 50,000 years ago, and then humans used to live for 900 to 1,000 years old.
Like Noah. And
then people got so smart, they were building alien technology, Vermonas and all this stuff, and then Anunnaki were getting scared that, we were getting way too advanced, it would be too hard to control us, so they started the Great Flood. They wiped us out. They started us over from back to 0-1, because if you go back in history, where ancient aliens always talk about, we build up our society, and for some reason, the next day, we're just wiped out. Like the Mayans, just gone. Just overnight, just wiped out. Hinduism, all gone. Do we keep getting reset to this cavemen, through natural disasters, or whatever being is making a natural disaster, right? So the last known one in written history is the Great Flood. And the Great Flood is everywhere. Like it's in a lot of Bibles, a lot of ancient texts. It's a very thing that happened 12,000 years ago around that time. And then we're set back to the Stone Age again, right? And we're restarted, right? Because they want to keep their human slave population under control, keep dumbing us down, keep us enslaved. But there's a thing called the Supreme Being that everyone talks about. There's a thing in the tablets where the Anunnaki talk about that the Supreme Being is going to get mad at us for what we've done here. Creating a genetic species because everything has come from source. God, let's just call it God. Everything has come from God, the Supreme Being, and everything's based on free will. So if we raise our consciousness enough to the point that we want free will on a massive scale, we're allowed to have it, because that's the only rule in the galaxy is free will, and you cannot infringe on free will. So humans got to a point of ascension with their consciousness that we eventually have our own free will. So Anunnaki had to recede from this world, and then the Watchers took over to watch the creation of the Anunnaki. Anunnaki always played the fake gods. They were the fake gods. Because back in the day, if you had a spaceship, it literally says in the Bible, the fiery chariots roared from the thunders of the heavens. The heavens was just space, chariots was just spaceship.
Thunderbird. What's a Thunderbird? That sounds like
sounds
a
like
ship or a plane
space,
of some sort.
Exactly. So if you just translate that, then it's like, okay, we were genetically made by aliens, and now this is a period of time where we're being watched on Judgment Day. If we can run ourselves. And judgment will come from the Supreme Being or the Anunnaki, whatever, the aliens, whatever you want to call them. And they'll be like, are you worthy of being a species that's allowed in the galaxy? Or are you just going to be quarantined to Earth or just destroyed? Maybe because you're too evil, too demonic. It's like a quarantine planet. You're stuck here. And then as a starseed, this information is true because I have memories of past lifetimes where like your soul is your true form. You're just a ball of energy like floating around in the galaxy, and you can travel through dimensions with instant thought, or you can incarnate into a body, live this 100-year experience. And it's so interesting, watch people run around chasing money, debt system. I'm like looking at the sky. I'm like, look at the sky. Look how beautiful that is. You could be out there fucking around and having a good time, But this is a quarantine planet. This we'll do another podcast on this because this will take hours to talk, even days or months to talk about. We're just
scratching the surface here.
Yeah, we'll talk about this another time because, like, I know this is all true because I have this. I can leave my body at night and I can travel wherever I want to go with just thought. And then I have memories of home and I talked to, and I thought I was crazy in 2012. And then I started traveling by myself and then meeting like-minded people. And then I'm like, they give me my piece of the puzzle. I'll give them their piece of the puzzle. And I go to these conferences and there's millions of us that are like this. I'm like, we're not all crazy. Because with my super religious friends that are like, if it's not in the Bible, it's not real. That's just how like controlled they are.
They're religious though, and that's the problem.
Yeah, religion is like by far the worst thing that's happened to mankind. And if you look at it from an alien perspective, if I was an alien race trying to control a lesser race, religion's a good way to fucking slow evolution down, right? Like give them this religion, keep them fighting amongst each other. Who's like, there's a good joke amongst the aliens. Humans literally kill themselves over their pretend God they never met. You know what I mean? Like, how do you know that God's real? Did you actually meet him? No, you don't.
Feel it.
If you could feel the Supreme Being, because the Supreme Being is you. The biggest trick aliens ever put on humans is making you think that you're lesser than everyone else. If that makes sense. Like you are God. God literally lives within you. You're a fractal of God.
It's to one's advantage for us to have an inferiority complex.
No. Don't think of God as inferior, because we're all co-creators of our own reality. We live in a thought-projected reality. Whatever you think, literally it says in the Bible, ask and you shall receive. Whatever you think on a massive scale, it's been a proven study.
That's where you come to like The Secret, or like how are some people seem the power of positivity, or like willing something into existence, good or bad, right? Because quite often you see people that have a real negative mindset about stuff, and I've fallen into this, and then it kind of always seems like
negative outcomes.
Something shitty happens. You're like, wow, why the fuck does that happen to them all the time, right? And it's hard to break out of that, man.
Yeah, I practice it all the time, and then I know the secret now. I figured it out because I have ancient knowledge for some reason. This is my third lifetime here recently, but I've also been here in a very past lifetime. Like I have a lifetime experience where I was here 70,000 years ago. I was an Egyptian person. I had brown skin, and I had just a skirt thing on me, and I was walking through cornfields, and I could see like it was yesterday, I could see the pyramids just freshly built with the capsule stone in there. We had white limestone and a golden golden cap on it. This kid comes running up to me and gives me a big hug around my waist. And then I was doing a past life regression therapy, and then she's like, how long ago is this? I'm like, 70,000, just said 70,000 years ago. Years later, scientists now believe that the pyramids were built 70,000 years ago. Well, I was like, wow, weird coincidence.
Take a look at things. Dr. Robert Schoch, who's like a geologist, he was the one that caught big flack in the beginning by saying the pyramids have to have been here longer because there's water erosion that isn't consistent with that time frame. And we know that this region had water, you know, all around it.
The Great Flood,
how long it was, but it was like so far, so much further beyond what they think.
Yeah,
how old they are, right? And this guy isn't. I don't know what his faith is, but he doesn't come at it from a faith kind of standpoint. He comes at it going, just look, this is like fucking. There's no way that there would be water erosion on this. We know the water was here this. However long
you can see it visibly even on the Egyptian Sphinx. And then like I always tell people, I would try to educate humans on one thing. I'm like, just use logic moving forward, remove emotion and ego, because one thing I've studied about humans is ego is probably the number one killer of humanity. Because if you go back to World War I, World War II, with all the peace talks and even Ukraine right now, it's all these people are dying because ego. They don't want to lose. I'm like, lose what? Like people are like, fund the Ukraine war. To what end? What you like? Russia
for what?
For what?
Who is to really gain from this? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think any of the Russian people involved in this fight and any of the Ukrainian people involved in the fight want to be fucking fighting. Let's be honest, man.
Yeah.
They want to go back home. They want to have their families. They want to go work. They want to share laughs. They want to love.
Yeah.
They want to see.
And these Russians, a lot of people don't know the history of Russia and Ukraine. They're actually like Russians. Like they used to be part of the Soviet Union. Like they are Russians. They speak Russian, right? There's also Ukrainian, but there's also most of them speak Russian. And like go back to World War II is what the reason why Germany was so successful almost beating or Soviet Union is because when they started invading or liberating, the Russians dropped their weapons and they went and joined the Germans because they're like, yeah, we don't want to fight for Stalin. We want to get out of here. Like we want to. They call it the Winter March, where all these people just marched to Germany and they said, "Fuck you, Stalin." And Stalin made that code 227. And all these fucking deserters that left. They had millions of people just walked away from Russia. Like we don't want to fight. We're good. We want Germany to liberate us from Stalin. You are a fucking tyrannical piece of shit. We don't want to fight against. And there's so many movies about World War II where they showed Russian officers shooting fucking their soldiers if the soldiers tried to run away.
Good way to keep people on the front line.
No, it is, but it comes down to ego, right? Ego, like for example, go back to our history, like we're talking about ancient history. If it's not like Graham Hancock, I love him a lot because he challenges the narrative, and
really like Graham Hancock.
And they call it traditional archaeologists don't agree with him. Well, because they don't want to admit they're wrong.
Because they want their fucking funding, and you have people that have spent their life on one thing.
Yeah.
And new information comes and they feel like, I personally myself, because it doesn't negate a lot of what they learn, I like people that are adaptable, that look and go, oh man, you know what, I thought this, and then someone else came in and you're like, oh, okay, because utilize all that knowledge you have, right? You don't know the exact story.
Well, and also history is always changing when they find something new. How can you say something is something and then it's just like science? Science is never proven. Science is always changing. I've learned that during the pandemic. It's fluid. It's changing because there's always new discoveries. Like it has to. You can never say in archaeology, this is what happened. That isn't no discussion. I'm like, well, they just found something that just proved it wrong.
Well, trust the science. Okay, well, back in the day when I had a cold, you gave me heroin.
Yeah. Or they used to pick cocaine and Coca-Cola.
yeah, right?
Exactly, yeah. Or they pick fluoride in your... Like today, like, thank God RFK is banning fluoride, vegetable oils now, or seed oils in fast food restaurants, and artificial sugar now for kids, and gender transition surgery. Like, to even think that I'm going to tell my daughter in 20 years from now that I lived in a period of time where they were debating if it was okay to cut kids' dicks off or puberty block them so they can never have kids again. Like, they actually thought that was a good idea.
If my 12-year-old can't go in and get a tattoo on his own, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to allow him to make a drastic decision with his stuff.
Yeah, that's actually a really good logic. I like that.
An adult,
and
comes to whatever conclusion,
Yeah, that's his choice.
That's his choice.
Yeah.
But it's nuts to me that we're like, well, he says this.
Well, they said the reason why Trump won the election was because he had this ad. I watched it after the election. And it was an ad that was like, Harris is for they, them, I'm for you. And he kept playing it at football games only. And it's so true because he literally won on all accounts. And last night when we were watching the election, we have a daughter and we want more kids, and we were so scared because the last 4 years have been such a fucking weird place to live for children. And my wife's like, they're trying to teach kids to have sex in elementary school, and like it's okay for
to do that. Kids pleasure rectum spots.
I'm smart enough to know that the world, like, what a good way to brainwash kids from a young age, because they eventually want to make pedophilia legal. You know, they just lowered
youth attracted.
Yeah, they lowered the sex age limit in California from 16 to 14. Like just recently, I was like, they're gonna keep lowering the bar, bro. They're like, this is the people that rule the world are pedophiles. This, the majority of them, and they brainwash kids. Schools is just a way to brainwash you. Your history, pedophilia. Like, why does a kid even need to learn that? Like, I didn't even know what sex was until I was like 18. Like, I had no idea. Like, we just played sports and just had fun as kids. You know what I mean? Like, we had some attraction, but like someone getting laid was just like, what is that? Like now they're doing it in elementary school. Like we need to stand up. Like, I need to start fighting back, man. I need a coalition here to like take this country back. Cause like a lot of things I hate about people here is like, oh, I'm just gonna move out of the country and wait till it gets better and come back. I'm like, no, you're not. I'm gonna stand and fight. And then when people like me take the country back, people like you are not allowed to come back because you ran away like a little bitch. Like, this is.
Well, so many people are afraid of having an opinion that's adverse to whatever the going notion is.
Yeah.
And they've done it through doxing people. They've done it through right away labeling someone an extremist, be it left or right, doesn't matter. Labeling them an extremist straight out the gate. And they've done it by stopping discussion, civil discussion. Discussions you should be able to have without being labeled hateful or whatever, trying to understand somebody. Trying to understand where they're coming from, right? So it's, I think stuff like this is a good thing. People are going to listen. They're going to agree with some. They're going to disagree with other stuff. But being able to have respectful discussion, I feel, is intrinsic to a properly working society. If you start limiting that, it becomes totalitarianism. And I don't think any of us want to see where that really goes.
Well, it's also like we live in a democratic society, and we're about debate. And you weren't allowed to have debate during the pandemic. We weren't allowed to have debate about they, them, transgender surgery. It was just allowed and accepted. And like when Trump won, I honestly, my soul cried in a good way. I blame
Bruce Jenner.
Yeah, well,
joke, but it's kind of weird. He seemed to be the fulcrum that this all of a sudden Caitlyn showed up and the world was like, all right, fuck it.
But anyways, when Trump won, like, I cried. My soul cried. My wife kind of had tears in her eyes. She's like, thank God some normalcy is coming back. When Putin kept announcing we're banning this, I'm like, babe, I think we're moving to Russia.
Imagine like, telling this is a way better place. In the year 2000 that Trump would be a voice of reason.
Yeah, no, just because the people are so brainwashed. Like I'm like, there's a reason why they hate him so much is because like every time someone says, "Oh, I hate Trump," or like for example, the abortion thing. My brother's wife is so against Trump. I'm like, why do you hate him? And the woman only talk about one thing: abortion. I'm like, did you know that the new rule is 6 weeks?
A majority of abortions are actually like 2 and 3 timers, which means now you're obviously not taking it very seriously. Nope. Nobody is saying if you were raped or you were molested or something, you have to keep that child there. It's more this like ratchet thought process of just...
It's disgusting. Like
there's out there popping it all the time and, fuck, I'm pregnant. Oh, well, get rid of it.
Yeah, so I read the stats because I wanted to research why women hated the abortion ban. And I was like, so in Canada, it's 6 weeks. Europe, it's 6 weeks. Okay, that's reasonable. In the States, it was 9-10 months even after birth. That's right crazy. So since the 1970s, over 76 million abortions that were registered that they know about, over 80% of them were 8 to 9 term abortions or after birth abortions because of not medical conditions, because they just didn't want to be parents.
I find this if a guy pushes a pregnant woman down, horrible, she loses the baby, he gets charged with murder. If he walks past her and she goes into a clinic and they take the baby out, it's an abortion.
Yeah, that's
what's the fucking
wild.
difference, man?
It's and like,
one way you wanted it, the other way you didn't. It's fucking dead.
Well, like I was trying to tell my wife and my best friend's wife, because she's like, they're all Trump haters just because of the abortion law. I'm just like, do your fucking research. You know what I mean? Like, we're parents, and like maybe have accountability on having sex. Maybe stop fucking that loser, and then maybe not have sex till marriage. Maybe make sex a beautiful thing again. And like I'm like me and my wife. I'm like, I wish we go back to being virgins till marriage, because there's a reason why. 76 million abortions, and there's a video that just turned me off. On X, post this video of they had a video of them boarding an 8-month-old kid, and the kid's fighting for its life in the stomach, and it made me fucking X-ray video, and it made me cry. And then there's these TikTok videos, these sick fucking feminists going around where like, I can't wait to find out the gender, because if it's a girl I'll keep it, if it's a boy I'll abort it. Yeah. Because I fucking hate men. That's demonic. Yeah. And you know what? Anyone that says that should be tried for fucking murder, or like conspiracy of murder. Like,
it's disgusting.
That's disgusting, and that's the number one trend going on TikTok. And like everyone's like, "Oh, women's right." I'm like, "What about or my body, my choice? What about the kid's body? Maybe don't be a fucking whore. Maybe close your fucking legs. Maybe have accountability. Maybe don't get guys to nut in you." Like how, like I have a daughter. Imagine aborting my kid. Like how, I would fucking divorce my wife tomorrow if she had a secret abortion. Like I would fucking like lose my shit on her. And this is the type of anger we should have towards that shit, because what Trump said is right. Like they were literally having abortion, or the kid would be born and they would just go slit the baby's throat and then sell the baby for body parts, like proven fucking facts. And they would sell those kids for 40 grand, or they would. Let's go down the rabbit hole more. If the kid was still alive and breathing, they would quickly sell it to some guy that wanted a fucking underground sex slave, like for 400 grand. And this was proven fact in the United States, that a lot of hospitals were doing this. Or this is even more demonic. They would come up to the wife and they're like, "Oh, your kid just had complications. Sorry, it died." Yeah. But it never died. They just sold it to someone for 400 grand. And like the mom is just destroyed inside. And then just like that, this is why we have to have accountability moving forward. And this is why Trump is trying to protect that. And then the biggest thing is like, Trump didn't make the decision. The states came to Trump, and Trump came to the states. And he's like, I don't want to talk about abortions anymore, but I think it should be 6 weeks, but you make up your own laws. Yeah. So a lot of states independently voted with their own constituents that, like Texas, I think it's now 6 weeks, you're banned. Some of the states are now abortion banned totally. So you have to go to a different state to abort. Now everyone's like, oh, now the media played up. Oh, Trump did this. Trump can't decide state law. Yeah. He can only sell federal law. Like, how stupid are you to fucking understand that law?
People don't ever learn beyond a 30-second clip.
Like women, I fight with them all the time. Like, you guys are fucking low intelligence. Maybe instead of fucking worrying about makeup or the Kardashians, and go spend an hour research and read the actual law, because I posted the law on my Facebook status, and then a bunch of feminists were commenting. They're like, "Is this true?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's true." Like,
maybe go volunteer in the neonatal ward and watch parents who have lost children.
Yeah, like
maybe go be around some of that fucking despair, so you actually can see, what.
And then this is what I go back to World War II, World War I, and like the people that lived back then, the countries. We came from a society of actual values, like family values, compared to today. We have degraded so much. And this is when you go back to the German area, what Hitler actually stood for his country, the things that he was trying to ban and he did ban. He like, sometimes humans need a fucking structure, a smack on the ass, a little God-fearing in them. Do you know, man, motherfucker? Like, stop killing these kids. Like, The Sound of Freedom came out and we went and watched it, and they literally told the world that the United States is the #1 child trafficking ring of the fucking world, and nothing happened.
I saw somewhere that there's more slaves today than there was at any other.
That's what I posted. That was me. History. So there's more slaves today than there is anywhere in time of history because of underground sex slavery. And for example, there's a good joke Elon Musk always makes. Trump has been investigated more times than anyone on Epstein's list.
Yeah.
Not one person from Epstein's list has been investigated. And then all these celebrities started leaving as soon as Trump won election, because why? They're all on Epstein's list. Tom Hanks is one of the #1 pedophiles on the Epstein list that visited that time more than Trudeau, Bill Clinton, and who's another famous? Hillary Clinton. Apparently, they're all in on this. This is why they were through all their arsenal at Trump to get him out of office, because they knew once he's in office, he's going to spill the beans. And I hope he fucking does. These guys need accountability. There's a reason why Ellen DeGeneres had the #1 TV show. And then all of a sudden, it got canceled. And all of a sudden, there was pictures of her wearing a fucking ankle bracelet around her fucking leg. And there was pictures of fucking federal sheriff guards outside her fucking house because she was under house arrest. For what reason? So I believe the last 4 years was a military operation to flush out these fucking world elites, because they're everywhere. They're all in our system, all worldwide. And they wanted to play. Like, I bet you Biden is a fake Biden, because they showed a picture of Biden.
He doesn't look real.
Look at Biden and then look at Biden. They don't look like the same person. And plus, there's pictures or videos of him pulling his fucking mask down. And how I know this is true, the CIA operative came out years ago on Joe Rogan's podcast. He's like, we have technology where, like, we put on a fake mask and a voice thing, and we sat in front of the president and pretended to be that person. They had no idea it wasn't us. And then they also have it in the Mission Impossible movies where Tom Cruise wears
X-Men, the original X-Men.
They have this technology. And then, like, maybe you got to think about it from a logical standpoint. Maybe the last 4 years, because Biden was played so dumb and so stupid and just so corrupt and so obvious. And then all the world elites, okay, our puppets in power, we can all bring out the Great Reset and, make this new world agenda of cutting off dicks and normalizing pedophilia and make it so democratic to the point that people have to, like, imagine if the military took these people out and then told them what was going to happen. They would never believe it. So now they showed you 4 years of how bad it was starting to get. And they're like, you're literally losing a great country and great people over nothing. Let's wake the American people. Now the majority of them woke up. They're like, okay, we see what's going on. We need some serious fucking change. And for some reason, Canada, like, you're the last to change. UK is in full-on rebellion. France just got rid of their government in a full-on rebellion. Like, fuck you, get out of here.
What's happening in Germany?
Germany's the same. Holland's doing the same thing. Poland banned all of them. Ireland's doing the same thing. Canada. The United States now put Tom Holland in power of the new border czar, who's it's gonna get demonic next year for the United States. They're gonna have to kick fucking doors down and get these guys out, and as they should, you know what I mean? And like Canada,
they're all gonna run up here.
In Canada, you're still the last country doing nothing. It's like, oh my God, mate! Look at you drive around.
We're sorry, and we don't want to seem like.
Oh, yeah.
Like, well, we don't really. We're just going the way the wind goes, eh?
Actually, well, the best thing about Canadians is Canada does have a limit. Canada was known in World War II for one of the hardest countries to fight as stormtroopers. Like, Hitler fucking hated Canadians because we were the hardest to kill. And then also Canadians did have the truckers protest that did start a revolution on revolution.
The Van Dews, shout out to Uncle Eric. He's my great Uncle Eric.
Yeah. And then, you know what? Canada, I have hope for you, Canada. Because all I hear from people is talking about getting rid of Trudeau. Like, we need to, I don't think Pierre is any better. I think he's another puppet, if I had to guess. He says the right things to get in. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he proves me wrong, because we need some serious change. But I think people are going to have to remove the government. Like France did it. They literally got off their asses, took whatever weapons they had, and removed their government. Fuck you, get out of here. Immigration, you're gone. Ireland,
we'll fight this war with bongs and dildos.
Yeah, Ireland has massive deportation going on. Germany has massive deportation going on. So does France. UK is on the brink of fucking massive deportation. They're just called for election to get rid of that fucking.
See, Australia is very Canadian-esque down in that part of the world. They're kind of like.
They had the biggest protest out of all the countries during the mandates. Like, they just don't. But they said, look what happened when you don't have guns. Right, look at Austria. They had no guns. UK has no guns. And then Trudeau's like, we're going to ban 324 more guns. I'm like, looking at my guns, I'm like, babe, I think we need more ammo. Like, we need more guns. Like, we need to prepare. Like, my wife's a great shot. I'm a great shot. We have a full-on battle plan. If something bad happens to our family or shit gets crazy, we're totally ready to go. She's actually a better shot than I am. And I'm like, hey, babe, like, she knows what to do, where her family's prepared, because, like, I'm not going to let my daughter grow up in a world of Trudeauism or wokeism or extreme leftism. I want Canada to go back 50 years. Let's go back to where housing, like, I'm a real estate agent. $1.3 million for this. $2.7 million for what?
I have a friend selling his home for $1.975. It's in Pitt Meadows. It's an absolutely beautiful home. In no fucking way is it it's a $2 million home, but it's not. And it's nuts to think that you would need $500,000 to put down so you could at least access a $7,000 to $10,000 a month mortgage.
Yeah.
Think about that. Who in the fuck can live in this thing here?
No, exactly. Because if we go back to 2013, housing in Brookswood was like $500,000. Yeah. Right. And now we're at 2.7. And then like me and the wife were looking to buy a single family because that's the dream and have a yard, grow up in a rural country or a rural yard and stuff like that. And then we're like, I make really good money per year. And we didn't even, thank God the bank said no because our mortgage.
Key bank, mortgage interest rate.
My mortgage was $10,000 a month on the new place. And I'm like, oh, I can afford it. But then I'm like, wait a minute. No, this is another matrix trap. Don't. And the universe shut it down. The bank's like, just said no. And my mortgage broker said, I don't know how you got fucking denied. You're way overqualified. And I'm like, you know what? Sometimes God just steps in. Yeah. And he's like, bro, don't get into a mortgage hell, or a financial hell, because you don't need it. Like, you're doing good. And like woke me up. I'm like, wait a minute. I was almost about to trap myself in $10,000 month debt payments. I'm like, all mortgage is just a slave system. Just to keep you working until you die. I'm like, I can either retire in 5 years or I could pay off this mortgage in 25 years at $10,000 a month. And then, I get to say I have a single family. That's fucking retarded. I'd rather retire in 5 years and live my life and do whatever the fuck I want to do, like travel wise, and take my family and just be a dad. That's what I want. And I want to be cash rich, not cash poor. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I was like, thank God. God's like, no, you're denied. I was like, thank you, God, for protecting me from my stupid programmed choices. Yeah. That's how I know he watches my back, because sometimes he just steps in and says no. Or I call it the universe. The universe just steps in and says no. Creator. There's a reason why we're protecting you from poor choices.
Sometimes we need to be protected from ourselves.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, when I harp on other men, it's because I've made more mistakes than every guy, but I want people to start being their best versions of themselves, so the worst versions. Like they said literally on the news a couple years ago, 1 out of 2 people will have cancer, 1 out of 2 people will be more morbidly abused in North America. I'm like, wake up. Like, this is not normal. Yeah. We are on a decline, a population collapse.
We're accepting way less than mediocrity at this point.
It's like literally pitting a lobster in cold water and slowly boiling it to death. They keep turning the temperature up until you're dead. It's the best way to kill a country. And like we're literally dying as a country. Like, I can go down any rest stop on Highway 1. It's full of homeless people in tents. Yep. You know what I mean? This was never like this pre-Trudeau. And like housing was never like this pre-Trudeau. Groceries was never like, when I woke up from grocery inflation was when tacos cost me $50. I was like, wow, that's meat and cheese and sour cream was $50.
Honestly, I very rarely eat like McDonald's and shit anymore.
No, I eat at home.
And it's not because I don't like to feel shitty once in a while. It's because when I went there and I ordered something, I don't even remember what it was, and it was like $17.90, and I was like, get the fuck out.
Apparently McDonald's is expensive.
Like, no. You can keep your stuff now. I'll go get some own beef. I'll make my own burgers.
Yeah, and plus you can make it bigger portions.
For like $6 more, I could have went to the fucking Keg.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I could have went and sat down at the Keg and had a nice steak. Like, no, yeah. I'm good. I'm good. Keep your shitty shit. That's fine.
Yeah, that's good. But we're going to have to end now because it's been almost 3 hours. Yeah.
Love it.
I had to get my kid.
Fucking flew by, buddy.
Yeah, we'll bring you on again, though. That was good, man.
I look forward to it.